We're recording all day long. Oh, wait. We're actually recording and I'm singing like a jackass. I mean,
thanks,
disregard.
buddy. Yeah,
nope.
Thanks for that.
No, disregard. Didn't happen.
Not captured. It's fine.
No. Hang on, I'll start the recording now, shall I?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Welcome to Two Titans and a Hunter, a Destiny 2 podcast. A show where we discuss tips, tricks and tools to help all Guardians succeed and enjoy playing more. What makes us different? Well, we're not streamers or YouTubers, we just have a passion for Destiny and are dedicated to keeping Guardians informed and up to date with all the latest Destiny 2 news, information and opinions. We encourage your questions and feedback, and you can contact us either by email, twotitansandahunter@hotmail.com, or on Twitter at 2titans_hunter. Now, on with the show. So, welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Nitedemon. That's Respawn.
First-time listener, first-time caller.
As always. And I'm joined by Peroty as well.
Yeah,
I'm here. We are here to guide you through this week's plethora of announcements.
Guide is a strong word that I'm not sure I'm comfortable with.
No. We're here to guide. And
we're here to guide, absolutely. We will light the torches in the darkness to let the good people follow through.
Are we those examples of what not to do? We're going to guide you by doing the opposite thing.
And we have got an action-packed show for you this week.
Woo,
We're going to cover the developers video that was released when the Guardians finally rebuilt the Empyrean Foundation for the Lighthouse.
You slackers.
Yeah. We are also going to discuss Luke Smith's Director's Cut, Part 4, if we're counting them. So this goes into detail about what's going to happen coming up in the Bungie and Destiny's future. And then finally, we're going to cover This Week at Bungie for the 27th of February 2020, where Respawn has definitely got some points to go over. Comments.
Yes.
Hot takes. Many hot takes.
So to start us off, we've got a lovely surprise for Respawn.
Hmm?
Yeah, we've got a lovely surprise for you. Do you want to know what your surprise is?
I don't think so.
Turn around behind you. Luna should have put the box on the desk behind you. If you'll just open that up for us.
Nope, not going to do it.
So to alleviate some of the pain and frustration that Respawn obviously has got built up this week from reading all these different articles, we've gone ahead, or Peroty and I have gone ahead and already recorded some of the fantastic information for you to listen to. So I will now insert that into the podcast.
All right, so Luke's, the Destiny 2020 Director's Cut that Luke Smith put out February 26th of 2020 from the Destiny dev team, aka Luke Smith himself. So he's, we start out with just a little bit of, they talk about the existential dread of, all right, we're splitting from Activision, we're on our own, we've lost all of our other partners, in that deal. So, their first problem was, will Bungie survive? Are we going to make it through this transition? That was their initial fear of, is this going to work at all? Which, everyone says, oh yeah, you'll be fine, it'll work out, but that was never a certainty. Like, yeah, there's a big community and they like where the game's going and they like the game, but you never really know how things are going to pan out.
No, yeah, it was quite a big step, wasn't it, for them to suddenly just go, we're going to go self-publish. Right. It's all good and well people going, yeah, we'll support you, we'll still play your game. But that's only half the kind of side of the coin, isn't it? You've got the funding, you've got staff, there's so much to think about that goes into it. It's not like a decision they can make very lightly.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone, of course, says, oh, we'll support you. We'll stand there by your side. And then when you come to them and say, okay, guys, well, we need a little bit of your support, maybe some financial support, some monetary support. People seem to sort of, vanish and disappear all of a sudden. And now they're all gone. So, it was a big risk. And also just losing, not just the Activision part itself, where everyone goes, oh, screw Activision, big company, evil company. But they also brought, all the other partners, the Vicarious Visions, and all the other folks at the table that were able to help them create a lot of this content. All that goes as well.
Yeah, all the help that they got from Blizzard, didn't they? They were looking at MMO stuff, and they were talking to Blizzard about World of Warcraft and getting their insight on how the mechanics of their game work, so how they could translate that into Destiny, which then kind of helped with a lot of systems and a lot of changeovers of how we went from like Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, and then making that game even better than what it was originally.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not just the financial part of the loss, but just the the brain drain, not having access to those people, not being able to call up whoever or and say, hey, how did you do this? Or hey, we've got some questions about that, or even just losing all that access is not a small thing at all. So and now he goes on to say obviously Bungie has survived, so now they've gotten through that initial period. They say, well, we've gone from will Bungie survive to okay, where can Destiny go and how can we get there? And he talks about a lot about the aspiration of the aspirational gameplay, what your goals are, and say aspiration isn't something reserved for the elite or the engaged; it's for everyone. Although while I listen to how players express their feeling that there's too much to do and none of it matters, he feels that pain. It's about the potential of the game to be more than something that just fills your time. It's about having goals and working towards something that matters to you. And that's sort of where I stopped and was the first big point where I'm going, okay, so, they see Destiny's a game is a game about goals. You sit down and you're trying to accomplish something. Whatever that is different for every person. But I feel like there's two big things about goals that are sort of important. Like for the goals to matter, they need to have two parts, which I think, this isn't Luke Smith, this is me, Peroty talking. Your goals need to be two things. First, they need to be obtainable, or feel obtainable at least, and they need to be interesting. Because there's so much in the game to do, but if you're not interested, if you don't care, then it doesn't matter what the goal is or how hard it is, you're not going to do it. And it needs to either be obtainable or feel obtainable. And I think those are different. Because, I could go out and obtain my Not Forgotten. I could go get my Raid Exotic. Like, these are obtainable things. But there's a lot of risk-reward and just time part of it, too, of, yes, I could do this, but does it feel obtainable? Or am I going to have to spend, 4 weeks grinding for this or run this raid 100 times or, go suffer through hours and hours of competitive? Even though I could theoretically obtain this goal, is it worth the time for me? And do I want to put the time into it? And at the end, is the reward even worth it?
Yeah. And you've got to think about the time frame of players, because some players, like we've spoken about before, only have like an hour or two a night to play. And maybe that's not every night. Maybe that's just once a week. They get that time to play with their buddies and they can accomplish so much in that time. But what is it that you actually want to accomplish in that time? And is it going to keep you engaged in whatever it is? And I was listening to Datto this week. He put out one of the videos of his feelings on the game and how he feels about it. And he's basically done everything and got everything. There's nothing for him to chase. But he is on the far end of the spectrum of players that play the game. Yes, he's going to have everything because that's his main thing. He plays Destiny, he streams Destiny, he makes videos of Destiny. So he's going to have every weapon that there is possible, because the chances of him playing over and over and over again and doing all those raids, doing competitive and whatever else it is, he's going to get it. The law of averages, the amount of time that he's put in, he's going to get it. And players like us that play the game whenever are still trying to get certain achievements or certain parts of the game. So I was a bit annoyed with his video, to be honest, because his opinion's always like, I've done everything and I'm waiting for Bungie to give me something else to do. And it's like, man, it's not always about you. It's, if you don't want to play the game, we're not forcing you to make the videos and play the game over and over and over again. Go and play something else if you want to. Don't make videos about the whining and moaning that you've completed everything. Other people haven't. The people that actually want to play the game day in and day out and enjoy the game haven't got everything because they haven't got the time to do that. I mean, I don't know how you feel about things like that.
I mean, I feel the same way. It's like, if you're, I've been in a really advantageous position in the last year or so to be able to put a lot of time into this game. And I know that I was thinking about this too, because I don't see myself, in terms of the pursuits and things, like I'm like for PvP, like I'm an average PvP player. My KD is like just shy of 1. I win about 50% of my games, give or take. I've gotten to the point where I'm decent, but I'm not good. I'm not going to carry anybody to anything. And sort of the same thing with all the PvE stuff. Like I'm a decent player in things, and I've gotten a lot of time. So yeah, I think I'm sitting at like level 206 or something for the season, just because I've had the time and the obelisks, which have greatly helped the just the level increase, just getting through that part.
Yeah.
But in terms of just like the reward of it, like I've had a lot of time to play, but I don't feel like that time was well spent, which is sort of dumb to say. And like, hear myself say is like, I spent a lot of time with this and I've enjoyed it because I've had a lot of time to play with friends. Like I'm always like, I'll get on with Pan and we'll run the 18 Warthog through Crucible, or I'll get on with you and we'll go do some higher level content. And, we were able to get a whole bunch of clanmates through the Heroic Sundial this season just from running it a couple times and sort of figuring that out. And, I've been able to help out some other people. Hey, I've got this quest that I picked up, however long ago. I just need to do the last part of it. Hey, let's go jump in and do that. I really enjoyed that role of being able to jump in. And since I've sort of already done it, I at least have some idea what we're doing, or at least I'm powerful enough as a player to do that.
Yeah.
But the reward, like, you don't need to play the game that much. Like and we're at the point of the season 2 where things are winding down, and I'm seeing my my friends list move more towards other games out there because they're like, okay, I'm done with Destiny for the season. I've either completed everything and got the savior badge or whatever, or I've done as much as I care to do, and there's nothing else. There's nothing else here for me.
Yeah.
I'll come back to the game at the end of the season, and in the next season see what else is new. But just the constant grinding for different versions of the same gun and all this is just it's got a shelf life. You can only care about that so far. So I've been thinking a lot about sort of my time with the game as the season comes to an end, because my time with the game is going to come to become drastically less as I'm going to have some changing in life and job roles, and I'm going to have less time to sit and just grind through a lot of this content. So when they're saying, hey, we're gonna have less of those FOMO moments and try to move away from just the endless grind for things and put a shelf life on things, I'm a little happy about that, because it means, hey, I don't have to spend so much time, hopefully, grinding the same content out for really, minimal gains. You can only have so many, the 7,000th time you get a weapon to drop, who cares? And I'm still spend half my time deleting blue armor and blue guns out of my rewards. It's like, is this really a reward? Was this worth it?
That just shows that you're kind of on the other side of my opinion. You know what I've been like with these obelisks and trying to get the perfect roll on these weapons. I'm ploughing in. I put so much work into building up those obelisks so that I could get more Fractaline, so that when it comes to this point in time, these winding down weeks, I can finish off a couple of the triumphs and finish those bits off slowly as we get towards the end of the season. But then I'm kind of reinvesting into my tower obelisk, buying all the weapon bounties, and then turning the Fractaline in to see if I can get the perfect roll of those weapons from the obelisk. And I'm really, really enjoying it. And that's the part I enjoy, that part of it. And I know you were saying you don't, and there's probably a lot of other people that don't enjoy that. But then that's what Destiny's about, is all these different little things that you can do in the game and you can find enjoyment. Some days I'm really sadistic and I really enjoy my inventory management of my vault, and I will sit on Destiny Item Manager and I will play and look at why did I keep that role and look at it, different things.
Seeing if you have space for anything else you can put into it.
Yeah, I've got to kind of
need to keep that lasting. I was thinking about you a lot when they're talking about and we'll get to this later. The shelf life of guns and moving sort of the inventory through. I was like, 19 will have a reason to get rid of some of these things. And I know you'll still keep that gun at 200 levels below because it will fit the perfect niche. Because I was also thinking about, and this episode I know is going to go all over the place as we sort of talk and work our way through this, but just the point where a lot of the time your blade level doesn't really matter. Like I was jumping in and just playing some Gambit Prime earlier, just trying to get another reset on the thing on my infamy. And I was like, hey, I've got some Gambit Prime armor on this Warlock that's still 750 because it's the old armor 1.0. I don't really feel the need to infuse it. Let me throw that on. At 750, it brought my light down to only 900 from 960 or 80 or 70 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I can't really say I noticed a difference. I'm sure, I died maybe a little bit quicker than normal, or maybe I didn't hit quite as hard in a couple spots. But really, as far as the gameplay went, I didn't really notice any difference. Which made me think a lot of the sort of the light level grind, unless you're doing again, the high end content, the master level stuff, the raiding light level doesn't really matter on most of the stuff, especially a couple of points. Like, yeah, I'm like with everyone else going, okay, well, this version's 960. Well, that's 962. Let me infuse that one or keep that one because it's absolutely the highest I can be. But it's just sort of my chase of let me just sort of have the highest number on things, so maybe going forward it'll be useful or something.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much does that really matter?
Well, at the moment it doesn't really matter, does it? It's like we've talked with Respawn that he moans about the fact that he wants to masterwork everything, and then when they change the infinities of everything, he's really upset that he's got to then change over. It's like, dude, you don't even if you have masterworked something with the previous system, you never masterworked anything, and you just threw on whatever, and you played your game style however you played. And it's been that kind of way since the beginning of Destiny 2. You pick a role for yourself, and regardless of what mods you can put on that armor and what affinity it has, you'd still wield a hand cannon on a solar arm piece because you like a hand cannon,
right?
And that's the good thing about Destiny. Is you're not forced into that gameplay. It only enhances your gameplay if you are doing the fitting into the slots kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. You can absolutely masterwork. Yeah. Like when I said, okay, I'm finished with Iron Banner. I was jumping to momentum control to help a buddy out with his Randy's throwing knife grind. I'm like, I need nothing out of this. I said, let me pull all my armor out of the season pass. It's all void armor. Hey, void armor. I can put all the high level, sniper. I think it's like sniper and scout stuff on. Let me throw all that on. Go to my vault, find my sniper rifle with the highest aim assist on it because I'm a horrible sniper. And let's just run that. Put all the perks on it, figuring if I'm going to sit here and suffer my way through some sniping to maybe get my Revoker one of these days, I'll max everything out just to give me the numbers game. Just to say, hey, maybe this shot will land a little better, or maybe I'll hit that shot that I would have missed, or it'll hit a little harder, or I'll reload a little faster, something. Yeah, for the stuff like that. Again, and even then, I'm not sitting here going, oh, well, that shot I definitely would have made, with this perk. Now there are a couple I'm going, okay, now that was just absurd. There's no way that shot should have killed that guy. But I think that's just more the Destiny RNG bullets and the aim assist more so than, oh, that was the enhanced whatever perk I had on at the time. Like, yeah, like maybe it helps a little bit, but I just, again, for doing, like, I'm not swapping that armor set around. That's just sort of the armor set for that. And I put pieces of it on for something else. I usually don't look at the perks a whole lot or swap them out because it just doesn't matter. And again, I'm not rating even when we're doing the 980 content, like the 980 Nightfalls, I'll put on at least something that maybe sort of helps out what I'm doing, or I'll swap and say, let's put on some, void resistance or an arc resistance just to give me maybe a little bit of an edge over something. But I'm not like rethinking my whole loadout. I'm rethinking guns, but I'm not rethinking armor. Yeah, I'm just sort of rolling with what I have by and large. And
it's very similar, isn't it?
It's been successful.
It's very similar with Iron Banner. You could be like 20 light levels lower than somebody on the opposite team, and if you get the drop on them, it's that damage curve isn't too great for you to kind of take them down. I mean, even the bounties are scaled to the point of you get more points if you take down a Guardian that's got higher light than you. It's like, what is you get more progress on completing that bounty if you are lower than the previous guy. So it makes no sense with those bounties because you want to be the highest level because the game's telling you that if you're the higher level, you will do more damage, but then it's then saying to you, well, if you want to take down the guys and still complete the bounties, you've got to be lower than those people. It's like, just stick to one thing or the other. It doesn't really matter in Iron Banner, which is, it's good. It's good fun that, people can just come into Iron Banner with like 20, 30 light levels lower and still be able to play and compete against other people.
Right.
Speaking of like light level PvP activities, we have got the confirmation that Trials is coming back. So we finished our Fractaline donations this week with 9,077,000,000.
Yes.
Once we completed it, I believe it was about 11:30, wasn't it? On like Eastern time that it completed. Yeah. Because it was pretty early in the morning for me.
Yeah. Because I was laying in bed, just sort of looking at feeds and seeing what was going on in the world, and all of a sudden, I think I saw a Bontis tweet. Hey, we did it. We hit it there, and then with a link to the to the big reveal, to the dev story, whatever it was after that. And I was like, oh, okay, let's let me see. So I hit the link for YouTube and saw, it's a YouTube premiere. It's going to start in, about 5 minutes from that point.
Yeah.
So I texted Pan. I was like, hey, we did. They're gonna show us something, because I knew he'd be up and at work at that point. I was like, let's see what this is. So I'm sitting there in bed. I had YouTube pulled up on one half of the laptop screen, got my little notes up on the other side. I was like, okay, let's see what they're going to tell us. Let's see any breaking news or information I can get to, dump in our, chat for the podcast or anything else. So it's basically like, hey, Trials is coming back and we're excited and we think it's going to be great. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, that's it. All right. Cool. That's fine. I mean, again, I'm not complaining. I'm not angry that it was, short. I was just like, okay. I thought it would be this whole actual thing and actual showing off. And I know it wasn't going to be like a live feed, obviously, because it was going to be something pre-recorded because they didn't know when exactly we were going to hit the magic number. But it's like, okay, yeah. So yeah, the thing, which is sort of a little, I have such a love-hate with all the data mining and the leaking of what's coming. It's like, yes, I know everyone wants to know, the moment something's in the game and the moment there's a hint towards something. But wouldn't it have been a lot more fun if, at the end of this, they said, oh, Trials coming out. Everyone was like, what? Oh my God, it's Trials. We had no idea. Or yeah, maybe I had a thought, or maybe there were some, little pointers here and there, but it wasn't, basically confirmed for us before it happened.
Yeah. I think
so it's like, yeah.
The problem was that putting Saint 14 down in the tower hangar with Osiris banners and Osiris symbol underneath it was kind of a bit of a giveaway of, this is going to be coming, but we're not going to tell you until you finish your donations, kind of thing.
Right. It's like, there's some foreshadowing, but you could have made it a little, I don't know, a little more like, okay, it's coming eventually, but we're not going to tell you when. But yeah, it's I sort of miss those, Destiny talks about, those hero moments you have in game, but I also sort of miss the big, the big info moments, the big drop of, hey, here's what's coming next. Hey, here's what we're going to get. Hey, here's the thing. And we also learned it together. It's not, oh yeah, we've known about this for 3 months. It's it's sort of the same way I feel like you see a movie trailer, you're like, oh, that movie looks cool. And it's like coming 3 years from now. And you're like, okay. And then you see the trailer. And then by the time the movie comes out, you're like, oh, I thought this came out like 3 years ago. Like I don't even care at this point. I've seen, I'm aware of it. I've seen this trailer so many times. I just don't even care.
Yeah.
I sort of feel the same way. It's like Trials. It's like, yeah, Trials is coming. Trials, I don't know. I just feel like it's sort of a, yeah. I mean, people are excited. It'll be a good thing, I think, for the community once they remember how Trials was in Destiny 1, which Pan and I have had that talk of like, do people just not remember? Like is everyone's attention span and memory that short? And honestly, I can speak for myself. Yes, because I have a terrible memory. So yeah, no, I don't remember most of the things that happen in the world.
I think
I have a hard time remembering what we talk about from week to week, but it's going to be interesting.
I think there were good times and there were bad times in Destiny 1 Trials. For anybody that wasn't around in Destiny 1 and doesn't really know what Trials is or Trials of Osiris is, it was a competitive PvP gameplay event that happened from reset on the Friday, and I think it went to the Monday. I don't think it went to reset on Tuesday. Can't really remember 100% now.
I think so. Yeah, I think so, because I can remember being online like with you and other folks like in the wee hours of like Sunday morning into Monday, when reset was again back in the early morning when it would be like 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Eastern time. So I remember being up all night and being like, okay, can we get one more match in? Can we try to do one more run of this before it's over? So yeah, I think it was Monday resets where it would happen, which now is a little more civilized time. But back then it was a little rough, at least for us East Coasters.
Yeah. And with that, it started off as a game, kind of an exclusive game mode, that if you won a streak of games, you got to go to this exclusive place, the Lighthouse, which isn't like the Lighthouse in Destiny 2. It was a very unique place, very desolate, and you got to claim a chest where you could get like these, amazing weapons and armor from. And over time, it ramped up and ramped up and ramped up. And the weapons got better. You could get adept versions of them, which had certain perks on, which made them even better than the normal ones that you would just get through gameplay. And what was happening was, originally it was you had to go to the Lighthouse to get the items, and then over time it was play. I think it was like, is it 3 games or 5 games, and you got the armor piece, 7 games. and you got the weapon. But if you wanted the adept version of the weapons, you then had to go to the lighthouse with 9 wins and no losses. There was also a card system that you could buy boons for. That one boon was for if you lost a match, it wouldn't count towards a loss. And then another boon was if you played your first match, it counted as 2 wins. So it kind of stepped you up quicker than originally. And then at some point in Destiny's original history, they then started adding bounties to Brother Vance, who was the vendor at the time, that if you completed bounties, you could then get tokens and armor pieces through just playing trials, because they wanted trials to be a bit more open for everyone, not the exclusive PvP crowd. And towards the end, it was more open to everybody playing, so that everybody could obtain these, or obtain a trials weapon, or obtain certain trials weapons. So yeah, I mean, it was a very competitive event that happened at the weekends, and what you would find were there would be streamers that were extremely good at PvP. They would find a buddy, and they would carry just general people that were in their chat, or people that won raffles whilst watching their Twitch streams, and take those people to the lighthouse. And it was this big Destiny event for Destiny 1, and it really kind of kept the community going through like some really tough times that we didn't have any content. And then when it came into Destiny 2, with the change of the gameplay and the 4v4 layout that we had as a PvP originally, I mean, imagine controllers 4v4 now. It's ridiculous. It's 6v6, come on. So yeah, originally it was a 4v4 mode, and it was Trials of the 9. And with the Trials of the 9, again, there were exclusive weapons, there were exclusive shaders and armor pieces. But it just didn't have that kind of feel that the original Destiny 1 Trials kind of had. And that's why it was kind of taken out of the game. I think it lost the momentum. It lost a lot of players, a lot of my friends that used to do the streaming and the carrying of people, myself included. They carried me multiple times to the lighthouse. They just kind of fell by the wayside. And it was quite funny because I messaged them at the beginning of this week when we heard the news that Trials was coming back, and it's like, guys, Trials is coming back. You know, the game mode that you loved, the game mode that kept you going in Destiny, it's coming back. The one that you really like, you know, the 3v3 elimination, you know, that thrill, the rush that you really enjoyed. And they're like, no, Bungie has done too much for us to come back. And I was like, really? I know there's been a lot of ups and downs, but I think a lot of the community have been on that kind of side of it. There's been too much water under the bridge for them to come back. I mean, they may change their minds. They may, because it's a free to play now, which is really good, and it looks like Trials may be part of that free to play. I think, wasn't it in the trailer?
Yeah, that's what they said. Is they said it'll be available to everyone, and the only thing they did say is there will be something you'll need to do before it's available. So it's not like you can just turn on your PC, download free to play, Destiny free to play, and jump into Trials. There will be something you'll need to do. It'll probably just be like get to a certain light level or finish the main campaign. It won't be anything crazy like go win 3 raids, but it'll be something to
yeah.
And I'm sure it's just to prevent people from just spinning up new accounts over and over again to do recoveries or carries or whatever,
or cheating. I think a lot of people on PC were saying that they were a bit afraid of the cheaters, the DDoSers, just creating a new account, jumping straight into Trials and doing that. It's not nice. So I think there's going to be a mini quest. Well, that's what has been speculated in the community, is this mini thing that you kind of have to do. And yet, like you were saying, probably get to a certain light level before you can enter it. So that's quite good that, if you make something that's going to take people a lot of time, yes, you will still get people doing that and still taking the time to go through it. But hopefully it will turn a lot of other people away from it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a problem, a big problem that people have worried about with Trials, is just the DDoSing and the cheating, especially on the PC side of, it's a high level competitive event, and, high level comp, it's going to have the same problems as what Trials is, and vice versa.
And we didn't have PC with Destiny 1, so it's I think I mean, they saw roughly what Trials of the 9 people were capable in that, and hopefully they've taken a lot of time now since that's gone away to kind of implement some changes. And I mean, we've heard over the last couple of weeks with the TWAB saying we're going to take bans a lot more seriously. You know, you can appeal them, but they're going to be this and this and that and that. You know, so I think they've, like we said, that they've seen a lot of things coming down the pipeline, and they've dripped the information to us. So, you know, you're not kind of surprised when it gets to that point in time going, okay, yes, I should not be doing that in my game.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's the case.
On the other side of the coin, with people not returning to Destiny and about coming back for Trials, I mean, Trials is a really cool game mode, and it's a bit like the experience you kind of get in Iron Banner sometimes, that it kind of matches you up against the people with that similar skill of, you know, will you, won't you kind of thing. And it's that kind of enjoyment. And what was quite nice is I spoke to Nitedemon at the beginning of the week. We played a few games and we were talking about Trials. And him and Queen Anne's were people that hadn't played Destiny 1, or I think Queen Anne's might have played Destiny 1 Trials. And Nollis was telling me about how Queen Anne's wanted him to start playing Destiny to get into playing Trials, and when they did, it wasn't there. And he's been Queen Anne's has been so excited for Trials to actually return, and that's so nice to actually hear that just
that is nice.
A genuine thing that somebody's excited about something that they haven't played is actually coming into the game, and something they've heard about, and it was just really nice. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are going to be just excited, and they're not going to worry about what the streamers are saying and what, you know, other people are saying. It's just that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling of, you know, something's coming into Destiny. It's a new experience for them, and they're looking forward to playing it. And that was nice to hear.
It really is, especially someone on my friends list in our clan excited about a PvP anything. Because I mean, you and I spent a lot of time in Trials in Destiny 1. Not necessarily succeeding,
no.
But we'd have those times where we'd win 2, maybe even 3 games in a row, and that felt really good, and it was a lot of fun. And just having those moments, you know, frantically racing around the map, trying to either, you know, run away from 2 people and capture a zone, or you know, try to separate them enough to try to pull off a play. It was a lot of fun. You know, again, we didn't play Trials because we thought we were going to go to the lighthouse and get all the sweet gear. We played it, and again, a lot more when they brought the bounties to it. We could at least say, hey, I can go get, you know, 25 kills in Trials matches, or I could go, you know, do whatever the things were to do it. You know, I can get a, you know, not the adept, you know, perfect, flawless version of this gun, but I can get a pretty good version of this gun. I can get some pretty nice looking armor out of this. I can get something out of this. So I hope they bring it back with that in mind, because when it launched, it was all or nothing. Lighthouse, or you get nothing out of it, basically.
Yeah.
Except for, you know, like normal, I think maybe even had like normal Crucible PvP drops, or maybe it had nothing. I can't remember now. Although, and I was also remembering too, back in Destiny 1, because I saw someone on Reddit saying, hey, you know, bring back the Destiny 1, you know, end game screen that we used to have, which I had totally forgotten about until they said something about it. At the end of a game in Destiny 1, you'd have, you know, the players' names go across the screen, and you'd see, like, you know, there'd be little slots of where they get their rewards. Now in D2, we get that little, you know, sort of cascade along the right-hand side of boom, 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 here's the things that have dropped for you. In Destiny 1, it was like, hey, here's the couple of slots. Oh, this guy got an exotic. Oh, this guy got the good drop. Oh, this guy got that. So it was sort of neat to at least see things dropping, you know, even if it wasn't anyone on your team. It's like, okay, somebody in this match got this gun or that armor piece. It's like, okay, you know, this is possible, because it feels like so many times you're going, okay, you know, like, this has a drop rate. Let's see if anybody gets it. It's nice to actually see like someone get it. And yeah, you might be able to see it like whisk by on the little, you know, sort of little news feed in your lower left corner of like, oh, boom, 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 especially at the end of a raid or at the end of, you know, a larger event. You just see all that all flash by so quickly. It was sort of nice to see at the end of the game, you know, that old school reward screen, which again, so much of Destiny 1, again, I just completely forgotten about. And it was sort of nice to be reminded of, you know, so some of the, just, yeah, not better or worse, but just, you know, how different it was, and some of the design and just some of the things it had.
Yeah. It wasn't match-made activity. You had to find 2 other people. So there was a lot of LFG sites that were kind of set up for that, which, again, have fallen by the wayside. But then you've now got a lot more other avenues, and you've got like the in Destiny app looking for team, and the same with with the Xbox, you've got that as well. So you've got those that are probably going to be popping up quite regularly now, which is quite nice. And originally we had Trials Report, didn't we? There was a website that gave you a lowdown. So when you were flying into a match, you could pull up this Trials Report and you could see the other team that you were facing at the time, and you could see what weapons they had, what kind of loadouts they had. And it was really interesting because the two really good players on my team that, were carrying me to the lighthouse would be like communicating to each other. Right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that because they've got that and this, and you could see them swapping out weapons on the fly, and it was really exciting to see. And I mean, us average people, we'd have a look at the Trials Report and go, "Oh my god, we're going against Last Word and Thorn again." But it was just a good utility to actually have. So keep your eye out for that because that'll probably pop back up. So should we? I'm sorry, we jumping backwards and forwards here. Did you want to carry on with Luke Smith's Magnus Opus Part 4?
I suppose. Yeah, I was sitting here going, all right, now that we've past the introduction of his of his director's cut. So, God, we'll see. Where do we even leave off? Oh yeah, here at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, again talking about, and we've sort of talked about some of this. They're under his Seasons of Change. Just they want to talk about not spend a whole lot of time on all the positives and all the negatives of what they've learned and what they felt about the season model going forward. But he did say a couple of little things about the seasonal narratives are starting to connect to one another. They said back a year ago when he put out the last, or I think it was August or whatever last year when he put out the 3-part director's cut last time, saying we want to actually start building a narrative and building a story and have this go somewhere. So they said we're starting to do that. The transitions are between seasons are getting folks more involved, like with this this season 9 to now season 10 doing the Fractaline and letting the Lighthouse. He says it was a neat start to having players working toward making the world move forward, ensuring that each story link in the seasonal chain connects to the next and sets up where we're heading. Which I like that a lot, because especially like if someone goes away or comes back, there's just not a lot of link between the seasons. It's like, oh, that season ended, this season's here, here's all the stuff you missed, here's what's here now, but there's no real story element or like any stakes in it. It's just like, okay, this activity's gone, this activity's here. What does that mean for the story? The Vex are gone, and now we have Cabal. That's what it means. Like there's no connecting tissue between it. Just sort of like you swap out one enemy for the next and move on with life. They also talked about the save a legend element of the Season of Dawn was a nice deep cut for those who have been with Destiny since the beginning, as a way to introduce the Ultimate Titan as Pigeon Superfan / Guardian or Anthologist. To many people who hadn't found his grave the first time, seeing your reactions was a highlight, and the team had a lot of fun building this one. And I mean, yes, absolutely yes. Because I mean, going to rescue Titan Dad, like I jumped on with Panoramics because we are lifelong Titans, both in attitude and playstyle, and we said we're gonna go rescue Titan Dad. This is gonna be great, and I enjoy having some stakes in it. Just like it would have been, like it almost didn't matter who it was. The fact that it was Titan Dad, Saint 14. Was just sort of super special and super fun. But if we were going to go rescue Kate Sevenark or help the Exo Stranger out, or go again have some stakes, Ikora gets kidnapped by the Cabal, because let's be honest, she's not doing anything else anyway. Let's go get Ikora. Give us some stakes, give us something to go do, give us a character that we at least maybe have a relationship with. So that was super cool. Bringing him back into the game and having him be in the world after that was just a lot of fun. And there's so little of like the campaign and story of the game that matters. Like the new content comes out and you play the campaign, and then you never revisit it. You never go back to any of it because there's just no reason to. So it was nice to sort of have like some story that mattered that you could play on each of the characters and relive that. Yes, it's always annoying to have to replay content on multiple characters, but I don't know. I sort of enjoyed it this time, just going back and being able to play those missions and help other people out who hadn't done it before, just to share those experiences with them. I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah.
And Luke goes on to say, I've enjoyed the simplicity of leveling up Destiny's version of the battle pass. We wanted a progression that you could advance by playing the game. We don't think we have the whole XP thing figured out. Running out of lost sectors and flash farming XP isn't what we had in mind, but we can keep tuning it. And I mean, and I agree. I enjoy having my rewards, at least to a level, laid out in front of me. I enjoy knowing what I'm going to get. I enjoy knowing that okay, I'm guaranteed to get this weapon or this emote or this whatever at a certain point. Yeah, maybe I as the player may not get to it if I don't have time to get to level 95 or whatever in the season, but at least I know what's there. And I appreciate things like they did this season with the obelisks, making it really easy and quickly to gain levels.
Yeah. And I thought I was going to struggle this season because I haven't been able to play it as much as I could have done or should have done or would have done. So I wasn't close to 200, and you have to kind of be, I think it's 200 or 201 to get to the 20 light levels on your artifact to then unlock that triumph. And I thought, I'm not going to hit it this season. I'm really not. But then with these obelisks and doing the bounties and turning the fractaline, with the XP that I'm getting from that, I'm now way over it. And I was like, this is amazing. You know, I know you couldn't kind of do that at the beginning of the season, but then I can see it was a good thing at the end of the season that I just wanted to hit those 20 light levels just so that I got that triumph unlocked. And again, that's the completionist part of me that I needed to do it. But yeah. So I see what Luke's saying, you know, about the whole XP thing and the rewards that are on the tracks. That, I mean, from the first season of Undying that we had, it was pointed out to Bungie that, you know, maybe some of the things like Glimmer or the Vex components weren't the kind of things that you needed on the season pass. But then this season, some of that Glimmer did come in handy towards the end when Spider isn't selling shards for Glimmer and planetary materials for things that I want to do. And I'm like, I've still got a little bit on the battle pass I can pick up. And then you've got those higher rolled armor pieces that, unless you're kind of looking at it, you're going along it going, oh yeah, I've got several pieces still on there. You don't really realize until you actually look into it and go, oh, hang on a minute, this is like a 64. Oh, that one's a 64. That one back down on the beginning of the track is only like a 50, but you know. So things like that have helped, and then getting towards the end with the hundreds, that you kind of unlock the emotes and the exotic.
Oh yeah,
and
the
like
ornament each season. Yeah, I sort of appreciate some of that. You know, just some of like the ornaments and the emotes, just some of the fun stuff. It's not all, you know, straight gear, and I really like too, where some of it's, you know, you get a gun, you get an armor piece, you get, you know, here's some bright dust or glimmer. I appreciate too that they put in the, like, you know, here, you know, you're you know, like all the scavenger ones, you know, you're going to have a better chance at getting, you know, like a rocket launcher out of whatever. And hey, you know, one of the season's weapons was the Pyroclastic Flow rocket launcher. You know, last season, I can't remember what it was. It's like, you know, you'll get a better chance at getting, you know, a fusion rifle or whatever, you know, and hey, this season's sort of special weapon is the fusion rifle. You get a better chance of that in this activity. So I like that it was sort of they would sort of reward you for playing the game by playing the game. It wasn't so much like you have to go do this or that or the other. It's just, it's all sort of there together.
Yeah, and that was nice until the kind of Tower Obelisk came along. That you could then purchase those weapon frames to then get those again, or they drop in Gambit and Crucible matches once you've maxed out your pass, which is also a nice thing that you can kind of get. So I do appreciate those kind of things on the season pass.
Yeah, I think, you know, like I said, they haven't totally figured it out, but I like the guts of it, and I like where it's going.
Yeah,
I think they're moving in the right direction with it, because so much of the game is just arbitrary random drops. It's nice to at least have some idea what you're going for, and even just, it's just nice to see that, you know, hey, you've gained a level, because, you know, like once you hit, you know, level 40 or, you know, level whatever, you never see that again. You're just always on the, yeah, your light goes up, but there's no feeling of like, oh, I've gotten over a threshold. Oh, I've gained a level. Oh, I've gotten, you know, I've gotten stronger, and here's a little thing to show me, which is just sort of nice to see as a player. Like, oh, I did a thing, you know, being rewarded for that thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is just, you know, your monkey brain going, I want to see a flashing light when I hit the button, and I hit the button, and now I get the flashing light. Woo! Now you're this. and I really like the obelisks as sort of a catch up mechanic too. Like, I know they said, you know, like you can go and, like, you know, straight up like buy levels or whatever late in the season. But I like that the obelisk was sort of an in-game, like, catch-up mechanic too. Like, I definitely didn't, like, you know, spend all my time farming Fractaline, and I think I ended up with, I don't know, like, you know, a couple thousand. I took advantage of one of those days where they go to Spider and do this farm. I did that for, you know, like an hour or so, and got another, you know, handful of levels on my Tingle Tour obelisk.
Yeah,
but I definitely didn't, like, you know, I didn't invest, and I didn't full time, spend my days farming Fractaline and trying to invest and max it all out. So I think I end up with like, I don't know, 14 or 15,000 dropping, each week after the first week or two. And, I still have like 10,000 on my character that I'm struggling to care about putting into weapons or something. But at least it goes away at the end of the season. So that's something.
Yeah.
And it's also worth mentioning too that Bungie has said you can continue, to farm those weapon rolls until March 10th, until the end of the season. So if you've got Fractaline going, what am I going to do with this? At least you can shove it into weapon rolls or just delete it out of your inventory. Up to you. I don't know what the guys with 700,000 are going to do with it, but that's their problem to solve.
Or, you buy the weapon rolls and shard it, so you've got all the shards for then later on in the seasons, that if you need shards for something else, you've got a stockpile of shards. You don't necessarily need to do any farming for weapon rolls if that's your kind of thing, if that's your bag, baby.
Yeah, and I think I know we featured like Cheese Forever's video and some others who have said like if you farm for, I think it's like the Pyroclastic Flow, that has a chance to give you an enhancement core when you break it down. So even if you're just farming for 4 of those over and over again, breaking them all down, you've got shards, you've got enhancement cores, gunsmith materials, which I know we're all in desperate need of.
Well, you say that, but we may need that coming up.
Yeah, that's true. I've just sort of been all these materials I don't know what to do with, and again, because I've had the time to play, I've got piles of. I'm like, let me just leave this here because there will be those fallow times where I will need something that I wish I'd have hung on to.
So Luke goes on to say that we aren't delivering the feeling of an evolving world. Instead, we are delivering the feeling of ephemeral private activities and rewards that go away. The Forsaken Annual Pass had its share of challenges, see last year's Director's Cut, but it has also had some awesome properties. If I stopped playing for a season, when I come back, there was a bunch of rewards and activities that I could catch up on. What we are discussing now, and which is early enough that things might still change, is how we focus our efforts around the seasons from a development standpoint, while we're also trying to create the moments that make memories, whilst also balancing the amount of fear of missing out. This is a tricky balance because of the elements that don't connect neatly, and in many cases, they work against one another. I think I'm in agreement with you that there was definitely too much fear of missing out, and we've mentioned it on the podcast quite a lot of times, that I would make sure that I would log in and do a certain thing so that I didn't miss out on something later on in the season. And again, this week, I've made sure that last week, I wanted to play Iron Banner, but I knew that if I didn't do some competitive games, that maybe I'd miss out on that Komodo. So I'd finished off doing all my headshots with linear fusion rifles using the Arbalist, then did 3 competitive games, and then waited for the turnover so I could get a couple of extra points for free each week from the competitive playlist, then paid 1 more game this week, and then that unlocked for me. So it was the fear of missing out on that title for something that competitive isn't scary, but it was just like the fact that I was thinking, if I go and play and it's like I play 3 games and I don't win those 3 games, I'm not going to get any points, and then I'm going to struggle the next week, and then I've only got like another week to kind of do. But then that was on me because I've left it so late in the season, where you went ahead and did it at the beginning of the season, which was quite clever. You jumped straight in, you got all your rewards, you got all your emblems, and you're sitting back at this point and going, hey, I can do whatever I want. Whereas I'm like, oh, I'm going to miss out if I don't do this now, kind of thing. So I have done it now. So it was just like buy a few different weapons from the Tower Obelisk that I hadn't kind of rolled yet, or I hadn't gone for a roll yet. So I made sure that I've unlocked it and then equipped it on my character, because I think Bungie did tweet out, or somebody did say along the lines of, if you do unlock the Savior title, make sure that you go into your inventory, acquire it, and then equip it on your character, because it may be bugged for next season. I think they said that just make sure that you do equip it on a character, maybe not permanently, but just make sure that it has kind of unlocked and been put on a character to start off with, and then it will just kind of be there for next season.
Yeah, I did see, and again, I don't remember now between the TWAB and Luke Smith's director's cut and the Twitter feed I've been trying to keep up with, I saw it mentioned somewhere, unlock it, equip it, make sure it's there and works before the next season starts if you've gotten it. And that's what I've learned about these seasons. And again, we'll see when the next season comes and I no longer have copious hours to play how well I do with some of these pursuits. But I've learned, especially anything PvP wise, jump in and do it early. Just knock it out early. Figure out what gun you need to use or what the best play style is. Again, they put momentum control in to feature scout rifles, basically, because some of them were one-shot kills to the body. And they said, hey, here's a scout rifle, ritual weapon to go get. So I try to get those done early in the season because I did my grind for my 75 games, or I think it was like 25 or 50 games across like 36 hours, trying to get that Redrix broadsword to unlock. I've done those end of season grinds. I'm going, no, never again. I'm going to get this out of the way early and get this done at least to the best of my ability. Anything that involves a grind. Made that mistake last season too with, I just have a couple of emblems for strikes to do. 80 strikes later as I'm, or whatever it was, trying to get this done. Some of these are deceptive. So now I've been trying to be better about that because I try not to have a frantic struggle at the end of each season because they, again, we talk about this every week. We know the dates, so we put them out there. I read them, you read them, and yet still every season I go, oh my God, it's tomorrow. Oh, wait, that's this Tuesday. It's like I know how calendars work, but my brain just can't quite seem to figure it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was the same. I was like, the 10th of March, that's a long way away. And then I'm thinking,
weeks from now.
February's a bit shorter this year. It's shorter every year.
No, February's longer this year. You have a whole extra day.
Yeah, you get an extra day.
So you see, we even gave you bonus February, and it's still sneaking up on us.
But yeah, I mean, Luke does say that the season has had, or this year's version of the season has had too much fear of missing out, and they want to fix this. And in next year's seasons, we'll have less. So that's a good thing. You won't have to worry about certain things. And I think that comes down to, with these titles, I don't mind playing your game mode over and over and over and over and again to get a title. But when it comes down to, I need to go and play Gambit and get shotgun kills to get a Gambit weapon or Crucible to get a Crucible weapon for that season badge, I'm like, that's not. I see that you wanted to make some kind of grind and make me do something, but yeah, I'd rather them have a different seal or a different badge to say you've completed seasons. Maybe a Shadowkeep season badge, separate from the one that they've also named Shadowkeep, but something that encompasses, like, if you complete the badges of all 4 seasons, you get this, rather than those badges be included into unlocking Unbroken, or not Unbroken, Undying or Savior. Do you see what I mean? I'd rather be something else. I mean, I don't mind doing them if it was for something else that I could progress over several seasons, so that I'm not forcing myself to go into Gambit and get all those shotgun kills all in 1 week. It's something I can do over the season because I'm enjoying playing different things. Not saying that I didn't enjoy playing Gambit, because that was good fun. I did have good fun playing and winning quite a few games this week, and I chose this week because I knew the Infamy thing was coming up, a bit like I did with the Crucible, with the Komodo and the Iron Banner. I knew that I could get more XP for doing those specific things on those specific weeks. But then you'll find people that don't kind of, or can't plan that kind of ahead, and they just, I need to get this badge done, and this isn't the right week to kind of double up on getting those 2 things kind of done at the same time.
Yeah, and just before we stray too far from competitive.
Yeah.
Again, I was talking with Pan about it, when the trials announcement hit, and I'm sort of hoping that this has sort of an effect on the competitive gameplay. So maybe if I do decide to sit down and try for my Luna's Howl, or God help me, my Not Forgotten one of these seasons, maybe go pick a weekend where everyone's off. All the really skilled players are off playing trials. Maybe I can sneak into competitive and have maybe a little better of a time. Maybe have a little easier, easier grind through that. While there's something, there's some new shiny thing over here that maybe a lot of the top PvP folks will go play, and maybe some of us, more average folks can sort of sneak our way through some of these competitive achievements while they're over doing trials carries and lighthouse runs. So I'm like, we'll see how it pans out, but that's sort of my hope is maybe it'll just sort of help spread the community out just a little bit.
Yeah, and they haven't actually said yet whether you're going to be able to earn, is it glory or valor? Can't remember which one.
Glory and competitive. So I don't know either.
I'm guessing because it is competitive.
One hand, right? Like on one hand, I want to say but then it's sort of in that weird spot like with Iron Banner. Like Iron Banner is quote unquote like is a competitive game mode, but it gives you valor and not glory. So it's I'm curious. I'm going to assume it's going to do valor rather than glory because it's but I don't know. Like it would make sense for it to be glory because it's a straight up competitive game mode, and it's going to be more competitive than comp.
And more competitive than Iron Banner. I mean, I know we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? Saying that Iron Banner, because it's light enabled and it is a kind of competitive PvP kind of event, it should have glory and valor. And I'm feeling that Trials should be the same, so that if you do get a good couple of wins in that, then that helps ramp up your. I mean, you think about it. If you're doing 9 wins each week without a loss, that's quite good for your win streak to then progress in your glory to get your Not Forgottens, to get your Mida Catalyst at the end of 5500 and other things that you can get, your Unbroken title. So it'd be worth putting it all together, but they haven't said as yet.
It would, although, and again, something worth mentioning too, with our trials talk is they originally did say, it's going to be your power's going to matter, your artifact's going to matter. They did just late Thursday evening come back, and I think Luke Smith tweeted out, we are gonna turn off basically the power gains you get from your ornament in trials next season until they can implement some kind of power cap. Because there's going to be some guys who's going to walk in, at 1,000 whatever power day one of trials, and just and be a good player to boot and just wipe the floor with everybody. So they did say they are going to put the power cap on of you're limited by your actual gear, not your ornament in trials, and I think they may have also said Iron Banner as well. So anything like that, they're going to limit both of those. So it'll just be the power of your gear, not the power of your gear plus your ornament in those competitive, light enabled PvP modes.
I suppose that's been quite a good
which a lot of
test
people were screaming about.
Yeah, I think it's been a good test for Iron Banner, hasn't it? That they've allowed the artifact power to be in there so that they could kind of observe what it actually does and what people will actually go to lengths to actually get above somebody else. So then they've gone, we're not going to have that in trials, so you grinding not in the lost sectors over and over again to boost your XP, not going to work for you in this time. So that is nice.
Because you'll see week one that team of 3 people at 999 or whatever the absolute cap is going to be, and you're just like, okay, you're a good player already, and B, you also have a light level advantage. Like this is like why bother? Like this is the experience people talk about. Not wanting playing trials once and never stepping foot in there again. I mean, it's already gonna be bad enough with just walking into trial thinking, oh, maybe we stand a chance, and just getting smoked by everybody. And again, this is also why they made some changes to the weapons and armors and subclasses that we'll get into later. And some of it's for trials and some of it just for the world at large. But again, there's reasons behind all this.
I mean, I was talking about triumphs and things, and there is going to be a specific one for trials apparently, and it's going to be called Flawless. So that's quite nice for those people that are going to go and do that. I'm guessing that it's not going to be one flawless run to get the title. Right. It's probably a multitude of things to actually get it. But that's going to be nice. Something that isn't like the Unbroken one where you have to wait 3 seasons to actually go to 5500 for 3 seasons before you can unlock it and all those other requirements. So hopefully this one isn't the same, that you have to wait 3 seasons. It's not time gated kind of thing.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, again, that's not one, much like the rating one, I'm not even going to look at the requirements for it because it's never going to be mine. And, I don't need it. I don't have a fear of missing out because I'm going to miss out, and there's no fear there. It's just life. So Luke Smith goes on to talk about something that I am I know we've talked about for a year now with our little show here about what we'd like to see them do.
Yeah.
So he says, because we aren't spending our development resources and time as well as we could, we're talking about moving away from creating season bespoke private activities and instead using that time and effort to build themes that aren't just represented by a marquee event that will fade away, but rather inject the seasonal themes into more of the game.
You sound a little bit passionate about that one.
Yes, thank you. Like, that's what we've been saying forever. Don't take all this time to build this activity that's gone in 3 months or gone in a week or gone in whatever. Build the thing into the game. Put the Vex offensive stuff into the game world. He goes on to talk about, the core activities of, what they see as core activities, which are things that are, replayable and things that you're going to invest in, like, for example, being like, Crucible and Nightfalls being replayable, sort of core activities. Crucible because, as he says, the other players with the ultimate AI, and like the Ordeal Nightfalls where the replayability is there because of the reward structure, and the random encounters and the Ordeal being a different Nightfall each week.
Yeah.
And just investing more in the game itself, building more evergreen content, evergreen content and replayable content, and as opposed to, okay, everybody, let's go grind this activity for this month. Okay, it's been 2 weeks and I'm done with it. What am I doing for the rest of the time? And then it goes away. I love this idea. I absolutely love this idea, and I can't. I really hope they go full on with this. And this is again something I know I've talked about forever, and I know we've talked about forever. Is what do you think of this? I would say this change, but hopefully this move going forward.
Yeah, I think that the problem is that they say one thing and they go with it. Like, we're going to create the Vex offensive, we're then going to create the Sundial, and then we're going to create something else. And then they realize after creating those things that they maybe shouldn't have kind of just created those things, because it's a waste of time and effort and resources, because those things could have kind of been implemented in the game, like you said, and still carried on in some fashion. I mean, I don't understand why the menagerie is kind of still as it is. Why has some of the loot not kind of evolved and gone through? Like, Callus is offering something else this week. Like, maybe if it was a week that the Undying stuff was available for selection, you put in your runes and you could then roll for whatever people missed out in that season. I mean, they may do that further on down the line, use the menagerie and bring it back in some fashion, but then maybe create different rooms, run down a different hallway, and you've got something that's very similar to the Vex offensive, or something that's very similar to the Sundial. So it's kind of using the resources that have already kind of developed in the game and maybe put them back in there, restructure them, and I don't know. But yeah, I see this as a good thing. They've seen where they thought it might work, but it's kind of a kind of a loss to them in the end, really. All that work and hard effort.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they talk about, you have to build the new thing, you have to test the new thing, you have to, QA the new thing, bug fix the new thing, just to have it be. It's like, by the time you've gotten it fixed, it's time for it to go away, practically. Yeah. And, and I mean, I think it says, the fact that we've had, 2 big rollbacks and, big game breaking, bugs, it's the same bug, but, the fact that it happened over and over says, you're maybe, you're stretching yourself too thin on some fronts. Pull back from the new content and reinvest in the stuff you have now. I mean, people have been asking for, strike scoring to come back, and, even if you're not adding strikes, rework some of the strikes or rework some of the strike rewards, add some of that, add some stuff to the loot pool that's not there. There's things you can do that again, we talked about earlier, the replayability of the Ordeal Nightfalls is partially because of the rewards for it. Give us a couple of new weapons and throw it into the Ordeal Nightfall pool. Give us some, say, hey, every time you reset your infamy rank or your valor rank or your glory rank, it'll give you, a chance to have something drop, or there's a weapon that sits at the end of that, or we threw something into that loot pool that previously was locked behind some other content. There's things you can put into that game that are either absolutely off limits to people because that activity doesn't exist anymore, or It's just, it's so few people have it. There's things you can do to invest in your game as it is without building entirely new content that you then have to support forever.
Yeah.
All right, so we're back to Luke Smith and his core activities. Like, we continue to evolve the world's narrative. We continue to invest more in evolving the world of our public spaces and take further efforts to evolve Destiny 2's core activities. So, he goes on to say, core activities, what are those? And we talked a little bit about it. But basically, what it boils down to is he wants it to be evergreen content, content you can play from day 1 of the game to day 453 of the game. And also, to that end, also have it be replayable. So again, 2 of his examples is Crucible, because again, every Crucible match is different because all the players are different. And, the Ordeal Nightfalls are different because of the replayability. And it has a reward structure, so there's something to grind for, there's something to get out of it. And it's also, a different singes, different combinations of buffs, and, it's a different strike every week. So it's different content every time you set foot into it.
Yeah.
And, he sort of goes on to say, a sentence that no Destiny player would ever say is, I want to maximize XP, chase awesome items, and generate economy that I can use to further my goals. And, I just thought, if you were a Destiny 2 player, trying to apply to some sort of Destiny job, that would be your mission statement on your resume. I want to do this to further my goals. Yeah, sounds great. Sort of it sounds like a meaningless sentence, but that's sort of the gist of it. We're here to gain XP, go get loot, and then get items to buy more loot down the road.
Yeah, just enjoy ourselves playing the game over and over and over again.
Exactly. And he does sort of point out that, the campaign and the mission quests aren't really evergreen because you sort of play those once and then never think about them again, never see them again. And so, he goes on to say that right now our seasonal activities like the Sundial are competing with those core activities, because that is where they put all the new rewards and award players more powerful gear, but they don't provide a bunch of XP. Whereas the core activities provide you a bunch of XP, but, we all feel the pain of how many more seasons will I get the Titan Rain collecting shoulders from the Drifter? You get the same gear over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's that battle between the new and shiny rewards and sort of the XP you need to make it through your seasonal pass or to make your character more powerful.
I think they did improve it, didn't they, when they put all the world drops as Armor 2.0, so that you could kind of just swap out those rain catching Titan shoulders for a 2.0 version in a specific burn. So that kind of did help alleviate some of the issue at the time. Like, why would I hold on to the 1.0 version when there's a 2.0 version that's a little bit better? But with that, they could have improved some of the stats on it. It just could have been a little bit better to kind of give somebody the reason why why it mattered when those things dropped, rather than, like you're saying, why do I need another pair of these?
Yeah, and I think we've all sort of felt that, when a new season comes out and, the Sundial hits or whatever the Vex offensive hits, you do that and you grind through that and you get your guns and you get if you're going for the seasonal badge, you play enough of it to do that and do all the different permutations and variations of it. But then it doesn't really hold your interest. It's not really evergreen content because, it's it might evolve a little bit, with a different boss or a different change to it, but it's the same activity over and over and over again. So it's good. Again, it's good as for a short time activity, but while you're doing that, it's just taking all the time away from your Crucible, your Strikes, your Gambit, your Ordeal, your Nightfalls, your other stuff you could be doing.
What I don't understand is why with when we play Gambit, do we get those rain catching Titan shoulder pads from the Drifter and they don't have any specific perks towards Gambit or Gambit Prime? I can understand maybe running the Reckoning, that it gives you Gambit Prime armor that helps you in Gambit Prime, because that's meant to be the pinnacle version of Gambit. And that's meant to be the pinnacle version of Gambit. But if you want to play normal Gambit, maybe there should be kind of some perks on that armor to incentivize you to actually get it. So, yeah, not like you have with the Gambit Prime armor, but maybe that armor does specific damage or better damage against
against
yellow
blockers,
bars, or if you kill 2 or 3
or something,
Or if you kill 3 red bars in a row, you get a few more motes to kind of pop out their head kind of thing. Little things like that would incentivize people to actually go, you know what, this is quite handy kind of armor. And again, it could cross over into Gambit Prime. So if you can't or don't want to go into the Reckoning, but you've got this Gambit armor, it kind of gives you some reason as to still have it and still collect it, rather than it drops. You look at it, it's a really low stat. And let's face it, most of them are really low stats, and they don't have a reason to keep them unless you're kind of just filling a gap at that point in time. And the same with Crucible and Strikes. That gear, the 1.0 versions weren't that bad, but you look at those compared to the 2.0 versions, and again, they're low stats. They don't give you anything. You know, if there was, say, you know, it gave you a few more points in, say, mobility or in recovery more than what you would get, say, with in other certain areas. I mean, I don't know. But I'm kind of just spitballing here. But you see what I'm saying is, if it was more specific to that area, it would give people a reason why they would want to have a look for that armor, rather than either infuse or shard it kind of thing.
Exactly, and I think Luke Smith agrees with you, because he's, you know, he goes into talking about, you know, I mean, you know, basically they're thinking about maybe, you know, pulling back on a lot of these seasonal activities and instead putting the rewards into the core activities, into the other things. You know, he says, like, using the weapons of the armor into sort of galvanizing strikes, and, you know, putting things out that have sort of a theme for that season. You know, imagine the armor sets or sundial weapons being woven into core activity pools, or experiences like pursuing roles for sweet weapons that could only be found in a given playlist or an end of match reward, like a Crucible Isa Luna. You know, and I love the idea. You know, put investment back into the things we're already doing. You know, even, you know, take some of the sundial rewards or the Vex offensive rewards, and just sprinkle them into the Ordeal Nightfall loot pool, or sprinkle them into the strike loot pool for certain strikes. You know, just add them to that loot. You know, maybe retire some of the older armor pieces, or, you know, I know people love to collect their armors, but just refresh the weapons. Use that to refresh the weapon pool, where people go, oh, hey, this is dropping from this now. And maybe, you know, you don't even necessarily need to announce it. Just sort of put it in there after a hotfix or a season change. And people go, oh, hey, this is coming from this now. It gives me a new reason to run that. You know, I think, and I think too, I made the analogy as I was sitting and thinking about this of Apple and their Snow Leopard from Leopard update, where they basically, you know, publish it as, this has 0 new features. I feel like Destiny sort of needs a, like, we have 0 new features update, but we're just going to polish the game and fix the game and slow down and, you know, do some of these quality of life changes and do some of the bug fixes that maybe take more time, when we're not competing against the brand new XYZ coming for, you know, this season, next season, whatever.
Right. I mean, my only problem with that is the vault space and the way that the collections work. And something needs to change in that respect, because if, for say instance, they do change it to these armor pieces and these weapons kind of do matter, but only in certain activities, then a 500 space vault isn't going to be able to do it for me. You know, I want to be able to insert my gear into a collections and then pull it back out in the same way that I actually inserted it into the collections. I don't want to have to worry about putting it into a vault and then more stuff comes along and then I'm going, I haven't played that in a couple of months, but I might do, but I'm not at the moment, so I'm going to delete it, kind of thing. I don't like that part of it, but they need to kind of rework that area of it.
No, definitely. And I think, again, that's one of those, I'm sure it's on the priority list, but I'm sure it's so far down behind, you know, ship seasons of worthy content. You know, I'm sure they're working on the content already for the season after that, season 11. You know, I would love season 11 to be the, let's give you more vault space season. Let's, you know, fix some of these major bugs. Let's, you know, polish things. Let's take some of these loot pools and refresh them. I would love to be, you know, the season of refresh. I would love that to be season 11. Because, vault space is only going to be a bigger issue. And even if they do, move guns through and take some stuff out of the game, it's not like it's gone out of the game. There's still people who are going to have that equipment. And as long as it's viable to play still, you know, you're going to hang on to it. Even if it's not, you know, technically viable to play at a lower light level, you still may add it to a build because of the perks that it gives you that you can't reproduce or just, you don't have enough RNG, blessing to get the new, the 2.0 version of what you're trying to do.
That's the problem they had with Destiny 1, wasn't it? When they tried to, we'll talk about it later, with the evolving armor and weapons. So at one point, the year 1 stuff wasn't able to be infused past a certain level, but because they were god rolls of such weapons and armor pieces, that people still kept them in the vault. So it still had an impact, I'm guessing server side, for the information that Bungie still had to have, because those weapons were still there in the world. They weren't all deleted. People still hung on to those because they could use those in regular Crucible. They could use them in patrols, and people still liked using them. Whereas the meta or the shift was to go into using other weapons that had come in that are higher light for pinnacle activities. People still held on to those other things. And even back in Destiny 1, we had that issue of keeping stuff in your vault because you couldn't reclaim it.
Yeah, I think in D1 it was almost a bigger issue because, if it was gone, it was gone. There was no collection. There was no way to pull it back out. It was, especially with something that wasn't just, a random world drop or, hey, this is a Crucible reward, you probably will do another one soon. You hung on to all that stuff. And
that's the problem with the random rolls, isn't it? Because you can't re-pull those back out of the collection. It's only the static rolls that we got from year 1 that we can, some of them can be pulled out of the collections.
Right. Yeah, the static rolls and your exotics, which are statically rolled. But even then, you may have an exotic that, because of its age, it's a different, it drops, or was it the exotic that would drop at different pieces? Or maybe I'm thinking of the certain legendaries from year 1, like the Sins of the Past and the Ikelos weapons. They could drop its different flavors. But anyway, you may have a version from, again, an older season of this game that you just cannot reobtain right now. And I know, like, all the, I think it was it wasn't the half dandy. It was one of the auto rifles that were like a year 1 auto rifle that, came to prominence a while back that we talked about, that you just cannot get right now because it's not in a loot pool anywhere. And to say nothing of all the faction rally stuff, but we'll talk a little bit more about faction rallies later.
Yeah.
And and then Luke Smith sort of wrap up the section. He says, we think we could invest more in development of our quest lines right now. Things like Sundial consume team resources and then fade away. Imagine instead of that quest line, like Save a Legend, didn't go away following the season, but instead existed until the next expansion released. That way, as the players drift in and out of the game, there's a bunch of content building up for them when they return. Which would also be nice, because if you drift in and out of the game, you have some idea what's going on. You have a storyline or a quest line to follow to sort of have some clue what's happening in this game. And again, they say, or he says, just as we continue to evolve the narrative of the world, we continue to invest in the evolving world of our open world public spaces. In case you're unfamiliar, those are the, anywhere you can do a patrol, basically any of the planets where you can free roam. We've built a world where players can encounter each other often, but we haven't made a world with fights challenging enough where you feel like other players matter. And I think you'll agree that's true. Except for if you're just starting out, you get around the level cap or even just around a reasonable light level, and nothing in the world but a couple of drop pod is really going to cause you much havoc. And we've made it to weapons.
Yeah, so as we kind of alluded to just now, the weapons are a problem. Bungie have acknowledged that, the fact that we have these weapons in the world, and Bungie are forever trying to develop and bring those weapons forward. And that is causing an issue with creating new weapons to kind of either surpass or match what we've initially got of like god rolls in. So in Luke Smith's director's cut, he talks a bit more about the weapons, and all the way back in Destiny 2 vanilla, every weapon that you get, you can keep and infuse to raise its power level indefinitely. And we didn't have this originally in Destiny 1. Destiny 1, we, like we said, were capped at, I think it was 170 light. So at a certain point, those weapons you could keep in your vault, but you couldn't infuse those past 170. And this was quite prevalent with the Vault of Glass, the raid, the first raid that we had. You could get these god-rolled weapons like the Fatebringer. You might have heard of this as hand cannon that was the best gun in the game for PvE, PvP. And it was a kind of crutch for everybody to use in whatever kind of game mode that you were playing. And to stop this, Bungie then held those weapons back and said, right, from this point on, weapons from now will only be able to be infused up to your current light level. And part of the reason why they did that in Destiny 1 was because our primary weapons had elements on them, and those elements could do extra damage, like our energy weapons at the moment. So you imagine having a primary weapon and an energy weapon and a heavy weapon all doing burn damage, that if you were taking into a Nightfall that had a specific burn on it or a shield on it, you could have one of every flavor. Now, I mean, you can kind of do that now with, is it the Osmosis perk? But back in Destiny 1, these weapons were kind of, top tier weapons. And towards the end of Destiny's life, they then brought those main weapons back, or the Vault of Glass weapons, the Crota raid and Kingsfall, all these other raids that had the primary weapons that had the burns on them, they brought them back as exotics. So they were at higher light level, and you could then take them back into these pinnacle activities. But you kind of had to make a choice of, it was going to be an exotic weapon with this burn on it rather than all primary weapons. So that was the reasoning for it back in Destiny 1. And I can understand why they want to kind of do that in Destiny 2. So Luke Smith says, in Destiny 2, with Infusion, it's like having every card you own in Magic available. I'm guessing he's talking about Magic the Gathering.
That's what I assume as well.
Yeah. So basically having every weapon that you ever owned available to you forever, basically. So it passively creates a power creep, and this is what a lot of the YouTubers have been saying, that again, it has a kind of knock-on effect that they kind of try and outdo each other with the next season of improving on the weapons and the different perks and things to make you kind of play with those weapons more, but people will still gravitate back to these original weapons. I mean, you only have to look at the Midnight Coup from the Callus raid. It's a year one weapon. It can't have any mods on it. You can masterwork it, but it only goes to a certain point with, you can infuse it up to the light, but it's still a god-rolled weapon that people will still use in Crucible and in PvE activities. So I understand where they're coming from with this. So Luke Smith says that it's an ongoing Destiny problem, which also means that our teams need to spend more and more time retesting and supporting old stuff instead of making new stuff. It reduces players' desires for new items, which dismantles aspiration like Shard the Blue post-credit Crucible match ritual, and it means we ultimately create a ton of gear that doesn't have any value beyond the ticking a box, and I got that on the checklist, which is what a lot of the things with the Sundial have been for some people, so that's understandable. This isn't value. It's actually the opposite of value, because it works that we could be putting into making new stuff or improving old stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you agree. I agree with them. You're just adding more and more and more into the game, so then you have to balance and test and think about and consider. And meanwhile, again, you're fixing that stuff without putting out new content. So, there's only a finite time you have in every day and every week. And it's, what do you want your developers to be doing? Figuring out how Telesa's going to break the game this week, or doing that and trying to push the game forward a little bit. Because let's face it, Telesa will always break the game every week. It's going to do something. It's got something up its sleeve.
I completely understand where the Guardians are coming from, that they don't want this to happen. They love that gun so much, it's their bay. They use it forever. But for Destiny to evolve, these things kind of need to happen. I'm terrible at home. I mean, I hang on to things. I hate change. And deep down, I don't really like the idea of letting go of these guns in the game. But I'm not kind of letting go of these guns if I keep them, and I see the need to progress. It otherwise we're going to get to the stage where a lot of people in Destiny 1 were saying, the game's not progressing, it's not evolving. At some point trials got to a really stale point and people were saying, oh, we need this, we need that, Bungie needs to do this, Bungie needs to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think just stale. You're living with the same guns and the same tactics and the same everything for years and years and years. It's going to get old. And
I understand a lot of people really enjoy that, but that's the problem. That's the problem, isn't it? Because you want the game to evolve and get better over time. And I mean, Luke Smith goes on to say that they're not saying that they're going to take away those weapons forever. Those weapons would stop at a certain point and then maybe come back in a year, 2 years later. Different weapons, different roles, different perks on them. So they could come back into the game or whatever iteration of Destiny is at that point. But it's to kind of keep the game moving, keep it moving forward, basically. So I understand when people are saying that they don't want this to happen, but it's kind of got to happen for the game. If the game didn't do that, we'd be in the same situation 6 to 8 months down the line where people say, I'm bored of trials. It's still the same meta. This is still happening in, PvE activities. You can still burn a boss down using this loadout, using that loadout, which is why I don't agree, but I do agree, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think about, there's maybe a half dozen guns that I use constantly in this game, and maybe a dozen that are sort of like my, backup go-tos when I need to switch out for a Singe or need more range or less range or whatever. But really, I could delete 3/4 of my vault and not really ever miss it so much. Like I was looking the other day for, I don't remember, it was like an arc something for a Ordeal Nightfall we were trying to run, and it's like, oh, I have that gun. Oh, hey, that gun exists. Like I just completely forgot I even had the stuff in my vault because I never go back and look for it. It just sits there until maybe its moment in the sun comes, and it's like, why am I holding on to this? Like, yes, it's a, I think it was a scout rifle with a decent roll on, or it was a sniper rifle with a particular perk. It's like, yeah, I have one of these, but it just sits in my vault 99% of the time, and it should just sit there forever because I'm not going to delete it because I have no real reason to. Half my vault's sitting at 750 for when they pushed everything to 750, but it just sits there forever until maybe I need it. And I think we need to have at least a little bit of evolution.
Yeah,
and leave some of that behind, and it'll in turn help. It won't help the vault space problem entirely, but it'll maybe help a little bit of the vault space of. You'll say at least, hey, maybe some of these exotic weapons or armor pieces that I have that I can repull from collections. Let me get rid of it because now it's going to be such a low light level that it's not going to be viable. Or some things you'll leave behind because you'll say, hey, I really enjoyed this gun, but it's 500 points below the light level and just not a viable weapon anymore. Although with so much stuff not really needing light, what's viable, what's not is sort of its own question to puzzle over. All right. So Luke Smith goes on to say, our combat team works extremely hard to make weapons feel unique. Each legendary weapon and many blues get their own flavor and a special sauce. Sometimes it's the way a gun sounds. Sometimes it's the insanely over-budgeted range stat, hand in hand. Sometimes it's the recoil pattern. Sometimes it's the art. Sometimes it's the indescribable thing that just makes an item resonate with our players. And yeah, I've never enjoyed how much guns sound in a game as I have in Destiny. Both in the positive and also the please oil me squeak, squeak, squeak of the Graviton Lance, which I want to use that gun, but that sound drives me nuts. I can't do it. I can't do it. Detrick's got like 45,000 kills with that weapon, and I don't know how he does it. Maybe he's just shut out that sound because he has children and can just, block a certain sound from his mind. But every time I fire that gun, I'm like, I'm going to get the WD-40 out and just apply a little bit. If I could have a double WD-40 mod or WD-40 catalyst just to not make it squeak, I'd be very happy. But anyway, that's my own hang up. So he says, we made a lot of magic cards. We want you to keep the ones you love in your collection as opposed to taking them all and throwing them all away and having the tower get destroyed again. So we're going to destroy the tower again. Watch, it'll happen. And a bunch of those magic cards could only be playable around the world while free roaming or in PvP formats. But where our power matters and aspirational activities are involved, we're going to make some changes to legendary weapons.
You know what? I've had a thought about this for quite some time because there's always that issue of the power creep and our light progressing too far in the game. Rather than, I know we had the tower destroyed from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, and that kind of wiped our vaults. We didn't have this, we didn't have that, but then slowly over time we've got some of those weapons back. But I was thinking, now that we've kind of got to the point in the story where there is time travel possible and moving backwards and forwards to different timelines and different things using Vex portals, why not have the point like you have in the Terminator films? You can travel to a certain point in time to continue a part of the story, have the traveler come back from the stranger come back from Destiny 1, and you go off an adventure for, say, Destiny 3 for the whole of, doing something in the future. But at that point, you can't take any of your weapons, you can't take any of your gear with you, but it still progresses the story. You may learn things that have happened in the past and be able to influence stuff that happens in the future. And then, say, Destiny 4, you have to travel back in the past before we were originally Guardians to progress your story even further. But again, because you've travelled backwards and forwards, you lose your light, you lose your weapons, you lose your armour, and you have to start again. And that way you can kind of pick up some of these legendary weapons that we have used in Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, maybe Destiny 3, and armour pieces as well. But you kind of use them at different points in time, so that way, Bungie can get round not having to bring everything forward and back, but it's still your same Guardian, if you see what I mean. I'm hoping that's what they can kind of do to alleviate the situation of the power creep and having to bring everything with us each time and not having to keep destroy the tower every game that we have.
I really like that idea because, again, it would let us build some world in this game we're playing. It's not just go over here and kill this flavor of alien this week. I really enjoyed playing through those Stage 14 missions. There weren't a ton of them and they were pretty short, but I really enjoyed the experience of going and being like, okay, here's someone who needs our help. Let's go out and, get this character back, get this, person we've only heard about in myth and legend back into the game. And let's go explore some of these mysteries like the big giant pyramid on the moon or, the Exo Stranger, which I think, I'm pretty sure is one of the Brays, but let's go dig into that story. Let's go, there's so many threads that they've sort of opened and put into the game, but let's pull one of those threads and see where it leads us, as opposed to, hey, here's the big story, and tomorrow it's gone. We want Aldrin. What's Aldrin doing these days? What's he up to? Just hanging out somewhere in deep orbit somewhere? Are he and the Drifter having tea? Like, what's, all these storylines that just are sort of like, built up and then just ignored until whenever. So yeah, and I really like that idea of going and just exploring some of those. And yeah, you don't need to bring your entire vault with you.
Or even if you travel across the galaxy, you have to travel to a new planetary system and maybe stop the Vex from invading. But because you're traveling in like hyperspace and things, you can't take everything with you. You're just kind of given a base set of things to take with you. Every Guardian gets to take it. And you can only communicate with the tower via like communicators and things like that, but your ship becomes your base of operations. A lot of people have asked for over time,
and because your ship be valuable or a space to use, not just a animation loading screen.
You log into a computer screen there and you talk to the Vanguard, via your communicators. You pick up bounties and use your ship as a certain thing. And because we've travelled so far, I'm throwing this out there for Destiny 3, because we travelled so far in space and we've had to kind of been put in cryo sleep, we've grown a beard, so people can grow beards.
And we can go back to the please let us have beards thing.
Yeah.
So do the Exos get beards too? Because
yes.
Very good. Because my dear Exo, may not need the cryo sleep to go across the galaxy, but he will need a beard when he gets there.
Like they could have like a little metal pointy goatee or like a little metal mustache kind of thing, like a dapper gentleman kind of thing, like a curly mustache, but a metal version. Be amazing.
I'm seeing a lot of Futurama inspired artwork here in my brain. So yeah, I dig it.
Sorry, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no, but I like that idea a lot. So yeah, just ways to I think that's one of the big themes of this is just to bring some story into the game and to move the world forward a little bit. And you can't do that by keeping things exactly how they have been for the last 4 or 5 years. So Luke Smith goes on to say there was a lot of learning to do when Destiny launched in 2014. 6 years ago, 2014. But there was also some good stuff in the game. I think back to a bunch of it fondly, almost wistfully at times. The weapons from the Vault of Glass could be powerful, unique, and rare. If you had Fatebringer, you probably had a bunch of Ascendant Shards to commemorate all the times you didn't get it. I miss those days when rewards were rarer and so special that you celebrated or hated when your friends got one. That's in part because of the design of the game gave them space to be different and space to be awesome. Panoramics when he sent me the video clip of him breaking down Galahorns, and I still could not get one to save my life. It's those moments you really miss. Fatebringer, I'm not sure I ever got, or I got right at the tail end of Destiny. but it was those hunts that made it fun. It's frustrating as all get out, absolutely. But also there was some fun to that. You kept playing and you kept trying, and now it's there's just we have too many special things. There's too many rewards, and I think that's the problem with a lot of the exotics aren't exotic enough because we have so many to choose from. A lot of them just don't fit a space that is valuable to anyone. Or you could do this, but you could do this better with this other one over here. And so, I don't use 3/4 of the exotics I have because they either don't provide me any real value to my playstyle or any playstyle. So I think just not having 3/4 of them would be fine, or take them back and change them. So Luke goes on to say, it's hard to cleave out that space in the current world of Destiny 2. Weapons that are supposed to come from pinnacle activities like raids and trials don't really have space to breathe. The answer can't be, just make them better, because that approach ends up with the Reckoning situation I described last year. Now we had pinnacle weapons, which were largely just talents that had exotic-esque capabilities in legendary clothing. These weapons were typically the result of doing long pursuits, and when they arrived in your hands, they were pretty strong. Sometimes hilariously strong, looking at you, Recluse. It also meant the team spent significant time developing each one. And if you imagine the abstract weapon space as a pyramid, those pinnacle weapons largely sat at the top of the pyramid, where most other legendaries were down in the clump of, they aren't really that different. Why? Because every other legendary item the team builds is going to be around forever, and the outliers get weeded out. Only they don't get weeded out because they're still in the game, and we just break them down into shards or put one in our vault for a rainy day.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking back to D1 where the Galahorn was that gun for every situation. I mean, if you were trying to raid in D1 and you didn't have a Galahorn in your inventory, LFG groups wouldn't even give you a second thought because that was just the weapon to use in every situation. It was that powerful. It was that good. It was the end all and be all of, there's a Dragon's Breath and there's some other things you could use to do that damage, but there's just nothing like a rocket launcher with tracking Wolfpack rounds. So imagine, if you never played D1, imagine the Wardcliff coil that shot like the two-tailed fox, that's what it's called. The two-tailed fox. So take those two tails, make them 6 tails, and have them all track the enemy. That's sort of what it was. It was basically the Slova bomb in rocket launcher form was the Galahorn.
But it wasn't that slow.
Right. It wasn't slow, but it was that same effect of, the rocket would disperse into six mini rockets, but then track everything. And that tracking, there was no outrunning that tracking. It would get you. Like that weapon was just so stupidly overpowered. And people say, "Oh, bring it back, bring it back." Don't bring it back. Don't do it. Because every other rocket launcher, you might as well delete from the game if you do that. Because that will be the only rocket launcher anybody will ever use.
Yeah.
Just like it was in D1. So Luke says, back in 2014, the Vault class weapons could be memorable because they weren't going to be in the ecosystem for things like trials, nightfalls, and raids forever. They'd naturally fall by the wayside because of power. Attack/light in those days would make them obsolete. And the world we're imagining will have space at the top to create these powerful legendary weapons, legendaries that are just better than other items in the classification. We'll be able to do that because the design space of weapons will expand and contract over time. Items will enter the ecosystem, be able to be infused for some number of seasons beyond that. Their power won't be able to be raised. Our hope is that instead of having to account for weapons viability forever when we create one, it can be easier to let something powerful exist in the ecosystem, and those potent weapons entering the system means there's more fun items to pursue. So again, just letting your guns go obsolete. It can be powerful for 3 or 4 seasons, and then it slowly is going to become less useful. It's that your God roll bygones, you may have to say goodbye to. Your midnight coup, you may have to put in your ship in a nice little display case for you to remember the good old times when.
But that's the thing, isn't it? They're not going away. You can still keep those, and you can still do PvE activities up to a certain point. You can still do PvP up to a certain point. It's only the pinnacle stuff where light matters that these weapons won't be able to be used. But then you'll find that with that comes new metas and new things will come into the fray that you'll want to use because it'll kind of incentivize, hopefully, your builds and the way that you play, or even it'll help with taking down a boss in a raid or a nightfall. I think that's the good thing about it, that those weapons will still be around and they will still be a particular god roll for you. But it's exciting, to be honest. I know it's daunting trying to have to let go of things, and that's why I was saying, I don't like it, I like it kind of thing. But it's a kind of a valuable lesson, a life lesson, really, that ultimately you do have to let go of things. It's like I think it's a Buddhist philosophy, isn't it? There's no attachments, much like a Jedi. You don't have attachments, because if you get attached to something, you kind of fear the loss of losing it, and ultimately at the end of the day you are going to lose things in your life, and you won't be able to hold on to them forever. And this is kind of Bungie's way of saying this is life, really. It's going to be ever evolving and it's ever changing, but it's going to be enjoyable. There's going to be tears on the way, and it's worth playing and enjoying us as we travel through this game.
Yeah, and the other thing I was just thinking about too is this will solve a lot of our nerf problem. You won't have to, because again, you build a gun, 5 years later you're supporting that same gun. It's just as viable for a lot of activities. You have to make some changes to it, especially if you're coming out with you build a new raid encounter or a new 6v6 activity, and you have to say, well, there's this one gun in this game that's going to just make this activity absolutely worthless. Because like you said, then you have the reckoning problem. They had to make the reckoning so hard and have so many mechanics because we were so stupidly overpowered that there was no challenge to it at all. And now you have to do that with how many exotic weapons do we have in this game at this point? How many legendary things with certain there's so much you have to plan around. There's always going to be some best way to do something, and that's the thing. Every time that there's a nerf or a buff or a change, everyone moans and complains and goes, "Oh, now I can't do things the way I used to." Well, a week later, people have said, "Hey, here's the new way to do it. Here's the new strategy. Here's the new weapon loadout to use." Yeah, maybe it's not quite as quick or it's quite as efficient or it makes too many a little harder, but it's still just as viable a way to do it. And it helps, again, move the game forward, move the weapons forward, and maybe, I'm not saying Bungie will never nerf things again, because obviously they're going to. They're going to nerf things, they're going to buff things, they're going to change things around, because they want, all the weapons to be viable to a point, all the weapon types to be viable to a point. But maybe this means they have to make less sort of, big changes to certain things. If, hey, you have the gun, it gets its good run, and now it's time to put it out to pasture again. Or now it's, at least not a thing people are using to make videos of in raids.
Yeah. And saying that, I mean, one final note that Luke Smith did make quite explicit, they've got no plans to apply this to exotic weapons at this time, because they want the exotics to stay exotic so that you carry those through and forward in the game, at the moment anyway. But the legendaries are kind of on the ecosystem first, that can be brought in or out of the game, which is quite a good thing.
Definitely. And he goes on to say, they don't have this all, so this is, don't take to the forums and take to Twitter screaming about, oh, they're going to do this. But he says, the simplest version of how this could work is legendary weapons will have a fixed value for how high they can be infused. Those values will protect the weapon's viability in-game during the lifespan, and we think that lifespan is somewhere between 9 and 15 months. So, 3/4 of a year to a year and a quarter, or 3 to 5 seasons of Destiny, which seems like, a good enough amount of time. Because really, what legendary weapon, again, you've got your legendary favorites, but think back, what did you earn 3 or 5 seasons in Destiny ago? Are you still using it? Can you even tell me what you got then? No, it's a loot pool that just grows and grows and grows. So I think that's, a reasonable amount of time. I feel like 3 seasons minimum is sort of a good amount of time to have something be around and be a viable in-game legendary weapon. Now we've made it to the Cosmic Gardeners. All right. So Luke Smith talks about us being Cosmic Gardeners. Last year, we said it frequently seemed like Destiny was treading water instead of moving the world's narrative forward. And again, we want to tackle this in Destiny's third year. That statement is still true for us today as we look into Destiny 2 Year 4 and beyond. When we started this in Year 3, but the job isn't done. By its very name, this is something that really doesn't have an end. The idea of building a narrative that is moving forward for the story of your Guardian, plural, all of you, moving you all forward, creating a universe where permanent change is possible and players have meaningful impact is still a thing we're chasing and experimenting with. On the technical side, I come back to sustainability. As new areas, features, and event types are added to Destiny, the problem of maintenance grows accordingly for the team. And that's linked to the recent rollbacks we had. New changes to the system have to be checked against all the content, new and old alike. That introduces risk and a big burden on our team to maintain the legacy content. In practical terms, it prevents us from responding to players who have problems as quickly as we would like. And that's what they'd like to alleviate, and that's what I as a player would like them to alleviate. Again, they push a new change, they push a new patch, they have to test everything in the game. And they're going to miss some stuff. And they're going to miss some big things. And, this is the first time in Destiny's history, not just D2, but in Destiny's history in the last 6 years, since 2014, they've ever had to roll back the game. They've ever had a big, show-stopping bug like this, which I think is also a good sign of you're moving too fast. You're trying to do too much. Slow it down. Get your house in order, like Luke Smith said in the director's cuts last year. Build the foundation, make sure your foundation's solid, then build the rest of your house. Bungie, you got kind of a wobbly foundation here. Let's slow it down, fix the foundation, and then the house you're going to build will be much more stable.
So to answer the question of faction rallies, which we've kind of covered on the podcast previously, if you look back in our history of chats about things. So the faction rallies were these weekly events that you could go and visit the 3 vendors that are still in the tower now and do certain activities, and you could earn weapons and armor that are exclusive to those factions. If you pledged to that faction, it would be for the whole of your account. You would then earn exotic ornaments if your faction won the rally for that week. So there were exclusive weapons that you could win. So that's what happened at that time. And I think because of the reason it was too much work for a little effort on our side, they haven't got any plans to bring the faction rallies back at the moment. The reward gear hasn't been used much, apparently. Our characters' cast is growing too large, and crucially, they didn't drive a bunch of engagement with the game, like we just said. That said, there's some sweet looks in that gear. We're moving the faction rally armor to the legendary engram reward loot pool in Season 10, alongside a few popular faction weapons. So, I mean, that's quite good. The ones that kind of stand out for me is the New Monarchy armor that had the lions all over it. You could look like a Lannister from Game of Thrones, throw a different shader on there, and you look pretty nice and neat. And to be honest, I've actually pulled some of that back out recently because there's a certain build that you can put with a Titan and one with a Hunter, actually, to help get your infinite invisibility. And because you have the certain pieces give you a lot of points in mobility, that helps bring back your class ability for like your dodge. And that's helped. But it is stuck at a 1.0 armor thing in my collections. It can't be brought forward. So this is quite exciting that these things are now going to be brought into the 2.0 version and be dropping again in the world. So you'll see more Lannisters rolling around. Maybe not that many future War Cult. There'll be a lot more Space Goths. Looking at you, Respawn.
So many Space Goths.
Yeah. And hopefully the shaders would come back as well. They haven't mentioned the shaders. There was like a black and white one for Dead Orbit. There was blue, red, and white for Future War Cult. And then the New Monarchy was more of a kind of red and gold, white kind of shader. So it was a nice, shinier kind of feel to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's sort of what we've been talking about and Luke Smith alluding to. You have content, because right now that's one of the things you can't get in Destiny. You cannot get any of this gear, any of this armor. It's absolutely off limits to you because there are no factions to get it from. There, you can walk down to the Dead Orbit guy and be like, "Hey, Space God, how's it going?" And he'll stare at you. Walk over to Future War Cult or New Monarchy, and they can stare at you and look at you funny, but that's all they can do. They're just standing there doing nothing. So again, it's nice. You spent time and money in developing these armor pieces and these weapons, put them into the game. So it's nice to see those entering the loophole for Season 10. And see, maybe pull some old things out. You look at the numbers and go, nobody uses this gun. Nobody uses this armor piece. Let's move those out. Let's put these into the loot pool. It refreshes the loot pool. It gives people a reason to do things, especially newer players that weren't around. Maybe, all the new light folks who weren't around for the faction rallies, they can't have any of this. Give them the opportunity to earn some of this stuff, and it just makes it a little more refreshing to them. And even some of us who, maybe didn't keep it around because it's Armor 1.0 or, just you didn't like the look of it or you didn't pledge that faction, whatever. It gives you the chance to have some of this now in the game, and it refreshes your loot pool with, minimal work. You're taking an asset you already have, moving to Armor 2.0, which, is some work, but it's easier, I'm sure, than creating a brand new set of armor, a brand new set of weapons you then have to test around. You've tested and balanced it to a point. Again, it just refreshes our loot pool, which is wonderful.
Yeah, it gives you something else to look forward to.
Yeah, exactly. And they're doing the so this one I was looking at this and I'm going, okay, so for season, shortcut to the Lucius talks at the end is the bright engrams. He says, for Season 10, we're doing away with the bright engrams as purchasable items. We want players to know what something costs before they buy it. Bright engrams don't live up to that principle, so we will no longer be selling them on the Eververse store, though they will still appear in the free track of the Season Pass. So does he mean selling them for silver? Because honestly, yes. I haven't even looked to see what you can buy with silver, because I just look at Bright Dust only.
Yeah, so in the Eververse store, you can actually purchase the bright engrams. It's a Fond Memories engram, and you can purchase that for
some amount
silver.
Of something.
Yeah, so silver, 200 silver will get you 1, 500 will get you 3, and 800 will get you a few more. I think 5. Something like that, anyway. But
okay.
I think it's more to do with the loot boxes and the laws that are coming in. That why would you purchase something you have no control over getting from those loot boxes? So they'd rather kind of just put everything in the Eververse store for silver, and you can purchase as and when whatever you want to.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Because I honestly, I don't really look at what you can purchase for silver, especially for you might get something out of this. I don't even bother looking at that, because why would I? But yeah, so it's nice to see that and again, I'm sure they've gotten, very little engagement with that too. I'm sure very few people have purchased a chance at, oh, here's a collection of shaders or maybe a ship. No, you're going to buy the thing you want to buy, not take your chance at something. So that's a nice little change. I read it and I was like, purchasable. Again, you can tell how much I look at the Eververse store.
I think because we're players that have been there since day one and we get these engrams to drop, the majority of the items that we've got. So anybody that's kind of come in at Christmas, or like New Light Guardians that came in with Shadowkeep, some of those old cosmetics, ships, Sparrow, shaders, whatever it is that you get from those engrams, we've already got. So when we do get a kind of copy of them, we just dismantle it and forget about it. They're either things that we don't want or we've already got, kind of thing. So I see where they're coming from. This is kind of to help New Light players.
Yeah, and speaking of helping our New Light players, we have New Light new intro. So Luke Smith says, we dramatically underestimated how many new Guardians would wake up on the Cosmodrome. We're going to improve the New Light entry this fall and flesh out the starting experience in Destiny. Which is just, not a week goes by. And again, we've had Fuzz go on and some other folks on who are either new to Destiny or new to Destiny 2 that played D1 or, started picking it up because it's on PC for the first time. And yeah, the New Light experience just sounds like a bit of a mess. It's, hey, you're in this world. Good luck. So it's good to see that they're going to, again, spend some time on putting an intro together, giving players some direction, maybe, flesh out that experience so people pick up the game and stay with it.
Yeah. And we spoke about this last week, didn't we? How we had a few ideas and things of how to improve that. So I'm just glad that they've acknowledged that anyway, and they're going to actually take steps to help improve people getting into it. And hopefully they flesh out the problems that we kind of pointed out last week with knowing the different systems and the different currencies and the different, just everything that's kind of similar to other games. But if you haven't played the other games, I mean, I never played World of Warcraft. I've never played Magic the Gathering. This is the kind of first game that I've kind of played that is like this. You know, I'm aware that there are other games like that, and I've kind of learned as Destiny has grown. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm right there with you because like I've never played WoW. I'm World of Warcraft. I'm sort of familiar-ish with it and sort of how MMOs work. I've played tiny bits of Magic. Like I understand the theory behind it, but yeah, it's not a system I've really ever been in. Like I look at Destiny like I look at Borderlands. It's a game. It's a looter shooter. It's 1,000 guns. Figure out which one works best for you. With some story that they're struggling to try to build in and make some sense to. So that's a nice change. And then finally, our quest log is getting another bit of love this next season. Or I should, does he say it's next season? All right, well, the quest log is getting some changes.
I'm hoping it's going to be next season.
Yeah, I don't want to put words into his mouth. So all the quests are going to get assigned a category, and this buckets them into a specific area within the quest tab. So, for example, all your exotic quests will get their own category, as well as seasonal quests. The seasonal quest category is helpful in that it contains all the quests that expire at the end of the current season, which is great, because the tab they have now was a big step forward. But even then, I feel like weekly I'm explaining to people, okay, you have this many total slots. That's between your daily bounties and your quest log. So if you have more quests, you can pick up less bounties and vice versa. So it's nice to see them giving this another visual refresh and making it make more sense and just telling you what expires at the end of the season, which is always a question and always a thing we're all scratching our heads around. And with that, we have made it to the end of the director's cut. So, Luke Smith, will put a link in the show notes if you want to go read all of his director's cut in all of its glory, because obviously we did not read every last little bit that he said, but we tried to pick out, the highlights and maybe the important parts and the things that we thought, that we found most interesting that maybe you as the other players would also find most interesting.
Yeah. And you may have noticed it's very quiet, and that's because we've done this section without Respawn. Only because we know that Respawn likes to have a few things to say, and we thought we'd rather give you the information first and then introduce you to Respawn and his ranting. So we'll transition you back to the main podcast now.
Please fasten your safety belts.
And welcome back. You have joined us back at This Week at Bungie for the 27th of February 2020. We've just explained to Respawn what we've been speaking to for the last 20 minutes or 2 hours as it's in your ears.
Right.
And we'll cover This Week at Bungie and then let Respawn have his little say at the end.
Right. Right.
So, This Week at Bungie, Trials is back on the menu. And this is something that we've discussed in the previous 2 hours. So it's been an exciting week, and you've all come together to donate your stockpiles of Fractaline to the ongoing effort to build the new lighthouse and usher in the return of Trials of Osiris for next season. As soon as the final stage was complete, you were invited to survey the completion of the project and light the beacon. We saw your signal as our cue to release the Developer Insight video, confirming what many of you have speculated for a while now. Again, we'll link that in the show notes. To follow on from the video, Luke Smith wrote another director's cut, which again we've spoken at great length about for the last 2 hours, including our philosophies on seasons and some challenges in sustaining a game with weapons that last forever. Similar to the 3-part epic that he put out last year, it contains a lot of important information you won't want to miss. Again, linked in the show notes, spoken about for the last 2 hours.
Hashtag the last 2 hours.
So this is where we get into a lot of the changes that are going to happen in next season. So subclass changes. there's going to be a lot of subclass changes coming in the next season, Season of the Worthy. And with Trials returning, like we speculated last week, with the nerfs that were happening or adjustments that were happening to some of the weapons that they've detailed last week, it's all kind of going in the same kind of direction. They want to kind of hone the subclasses, hone the weapons, so that nothing is kind of being the go-to, the outlier, people are moaning that this weapon is more powerful than that, and everybody's using that as a crutch. So to give us some insight into that, the development team has said, hey Guardians, Trials is coming back, and the combat system team has been hard at work preparing Destiny 2 for its arrival. We've made a number of big changes to the abilities in the sandbox, and instead of simply dropping them out in a patch notes, we wanted to take this opportunity to offer some transparency for our decision-making process. Before we begin, we wanted to give a big shout out to the data scientists here at Bungie. They provide us with mountains of valuable data to sift through, from win rates for each subclass in the Crucible game modes to the kills per minute of each weapon on each platform in each PvE activity. This data allows us to make sure that we're making informing decisions when balancing the game. It also allows us to separate the perceived power of abilities, weapons, and armor from their true objective power. But the data doesn't always tell us the whole story, and we believe strongly that the perceived power and the community sentiments are just as important as cold, hard data. Even as Trials returns, we are committed to maintain a fun and fair sandbox for both PvE and PvP, and we consider data for all game modes when making the adjustments. Peroty, would you like to take us through Warlocks?
Warlocks, they're going to get punches. They serve punch now. It'll be great. So,
it's not quite how it works, but okay.
No, absolutely. So Warlocks have long been in a disadvantage in melee fights because it takes them slightly longer than Titans and Hunters to recover from making a melee attack. So next season, we're extending the Warlock's basic melee range by 1 meter to a total of 5.5 meters. Warlocks will still melee slightly slower, but now they'll have a 1 meter advantage. So T-Rex arms the Warlocks, I guess?
Well, no, they did this because I actually watched the video this time. Am I on mute? No, I'm not. Okay. Nope. I actually watched the video this time, and they did this because the punches are so slow that they gave a range advantage to Warlocks. That way, hopefully, they can get that second punch out before the other classes two-shot them. So,
right, or melee and blink away, or melee and jump away, or melee and get that shot off, something.
The punch is still incredibly slow, but at least now you have a range advantage to get the first one off before somebody else gets theirs off.
Which,
it's important if you're playing a wizard class. You really want to get up there in close quarters and start punching your way through things.
Right? Look, Harry, I'm a wizard.
So Bungie say that they feel that it's more of an interesting solution to the melee disparity of the harmonizing, is it? Than harmonizing all of the melee attacks, basically making all the melee attacks the same. And we'll be studying the data. Yeah, they'll be studying the data as it rolls in to make sure that it's balanced. So, I think Fallout was saying that this is a good thing. It goes against. Hopefully, they watched his video and took note. And
isn't Fallout a Warlock main? No, that's Mr. Sean. Disregard.
Okay. No, he put out a video recently that we highlighted on the podcast about the ranges and how slow that the Warlock one is compared to all the others.
Yeah, I know. I was just because Mr. Sean said something similar too, and it's because he's a Warlock main. So disregard.
So what's happening next, Peroty?
Titan barricades are happening next. So the Titan barricade, which we alluded to last week, is incredibly powerful in Trials, or will be, because who remembers Trials with Titan barricades? A Titan's barricade is incredibly powerful in Trials because you can use it to safely resurrect your fallen teammates. Next season, we're creating counters to the barricade while also raising its health from 500 to 600 hit points. Barricades will now take extra damage from special ammo weapons, anti-barrier weapons, and certain heavy weapons. And for once, Bungie has actually given us some numbers. So the following weapon types now do 30% extra damage to barricades: sniper rifles, grenade launchers, linear fusion rifles, machine guns, trace rifles, and anti-barrier weapons. And the following weapons now do 60% extra damage to barricades: shotguns and fusion rifles. You will also see yellow damage numbers when hitting a barricade with a counter weapon, which always feels good. So yeah, making the barricade stronger, and then also having things do more damage to it, which I'm not going to say balance each other out, but what's the point?
I'm guessing that it does balance it out.
What if we get a season that does? Because remember how we haven't had anti-barrier on shotguns or fusions? So what if this coming season we get anti-barrier on shotguns and fusions? Does that mean it increases the damage from 60 to 90%?
Only on Telesto.
You know, you never. It's not going to stack like that. But yeah, I was going to say this is quite interesting because at the moment we've got, is it auto rifles, pulse rifles, scout rifles, roughly have got
and bows.
One of those, one of those that have kind of
and hand cannons.
I've got anti-barrier rounds on. So
this season
it depends on what's next season, doesn't it? What's on that artifact that you can use to destroy.
How much you want to bet it's snipers after they just nerfed them?
Yeah, isn't that what we sort of decided last week? It was sniper sidearm shotguns that hadn't gotten the love yet, and trace rifles. But
yeah, it's like Respawn was saying, it'd be interesting to see how they stack that damage if it does go into sniper rifles.
Yeah, and you can't do trace rifles because all the trace rifles in the game are all exotic. So
yeah,
you can't put a mod on an exotic weapon, so trace rifles would be pointless.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So someone's going to put out a video of how much damage do they do now? What's 30% more of that? Because I can't tell you what. I can tell you a sweet business will melt a wall in no time at all, but I can't tell you beyond that what other weapons melt a wall quickly or how much damage each of them do.
I've watched a couple of videos this week, and I believe Aztecross and Fallout have both mentioned the Bastion and Lord of Walls. Also, at the moment, without this nerf and buff, can melt straight through a shield and the Guardian behind it. So now that they're doing extra damage, it's like, be careful if they've got Bastion and Lord of Wolves. Although maybe not Lord of Wolves, that might not be. But I see this is more of a thing for trials, to be honest, because
absolutely,
you put a wall up in like normal PvP, Iron Banner, normal Crucible. It's just a kind of a quick thing because people are still going to melt that barricade down because there's going to be more special ammo lying around. Whereas in trials, it's you kill somebody, you can pick up their ammo, but they're not going to be dying over and over and over again. So there's not going to be a lot of extra special laying around. So
yay. Trials coming, Titan Shield's more powerful. Yay.
Yeah. I mean, really, its only point, even in PvP now, its only point is maybe to stack them and get a little bit of damage as somebody, breaches a door. Maybe it takes, you get a little bit of damage on them that your shotgun blast.
You see a little bit of damage, but when I walk through a Titan shield, it takes my entire shield and then some of my health, like 50% of my health.
That's because you're a squishy hunter.
Yeah,
you go against a Titan, hunter, they will walk straight through it.
And I'm not a squishy hunter. I have 80 resilience, dude.
You're still a hunter though. You're still squishy. Like I've had people run through wall. I've been shoulder charged through plenty of walls, and it doesn't even matter. Like they take some damage, but not enough to really matter.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah. But I think this is solely going to be so you can res your friends without getting sniped like you were in Destiny 1. You didn't have to perfect the slide res to get the res of your teammates before that sniper bullet finds both of you in the face. That's what this is.
That's what gives, I mean, and that gives Titans or people with Titans on their team a huge advantage in trials, man. Because trials is all about resurrecting teammates and taking them down before they can res theirs, right? So if you have Titans, and there's going to be entire teams of Titans because one-shots and shields, duh. I mean, it's going to be heavily weighted in Titans' favors, I think. But we'll see we'll see when it gets here, but I see the lining on the cloud. I see the writing on the wall. It's going to be Titans all the time, everywhere in freaking trials, and it's going to drive me crazy.
It's still going to be nothing but hunters that I'm going to see. Because Titans are good to a point, but I think the mobility of hunters outweighs the tankiness of Titans for one certain thing here and there. Especially if they can, especially if they're working as a team and team shotting you, it's not going to matter. Because
when you say, especially if they're going to tee, right? And I thought she was going to say something like, especially when they're teabagging you after they kill you.
Well, I mean, that's also going to happen because looking at you hunters.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm trying to do a dodge, but I'm doing it over your body. Yes,
Yeah,
just
no,
team
I'm waiting for my dodge to
typing.
charge. I don't know
Oh,
what you're
sorry.
talking about.
I'm trying to put this rift down. I didn't know that this rift is not working. Let me try it 3 or 4 times. Oh, this dodge, yeah, it just doesn't seem to work. Maybe if I try it over here, over your face, that'll work better. No, okay. Yeah, but no. I mean, I think I don't know. My visions of trials is just going to be: you've got one guy sniping you, then you've got one guy who's going to rush you with the shotgun or the fusion rifle. And let's be honest, the fusion rifle ranges are still nuts. So you stick a fusion rifle or a Telesto bolt to that wall's gone. The thing behind the wall is gone, and then your buddy snipes the person you're trying to res, and you're right back where you started. So,
and then like the Garden of Salvation, you know how the pieces of land, the chunks of land disappear. The Telesto is going to start doing that, but everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just part of the map. PVM, Season of the Worthy is all about PVM, man.
Or PvT, player versus Telesto.
Moving on to our one-shot abilities.
I got this one.
No.
I got this.
No, because you're going to rant. Wait until the end. Rant at the end. Let's give the information first. You rant at the end. Okay? Hold on to the thought. Hone it, control it, and then explain.
Hone it like that weighted throwing knife.
Yes.
He's pushing my buttons.
No,
you see what he's doing? He's poking a bear, man.
No. One-shot abilities. So with the introduction of Hunter's Weighted Knife in Season of Dawn, each class now has a neutral game ability that can, in PvP, kill with one hit. So they've taken a pass at all the one-shot abilities to tune their risk-reward factor. We'll warn you now that some of these changes look extreme on paper, but we've made a point to make sure that these abilities retain their overall feel.
I even shut my door, man. I knew I was going to get heated.
For the Titan's 3 shoulder charge abilities, so that's your Arc, Solar, and Void, they've reduced the auto-targeting angle by 50%. That might sound like a lot, but Acrobatic Titans could previously auto-target to make an instant 90-degree turn, which I can't seem to do, and I'm a main Titan.
I kept telling you guys to me all the time. You're like, no, we can't do that. It's so easy to miss. Bungie even admitted it.
Well, I still miss. I've got somewhere in one of the clips I have from last week where that happened. I was going after someone. I think it was a warlock or Titan. A hunter jumps across, like right to left on my screen. I'm mid shoulder charge. I make a 90-degree left turn, kill the hunter mid shoulder charge because he, it locked onto him instead. So yeah, no, this is absolutely a thing. Yeah, and it's just as disconcerting to the Titan as I'm sure it was to that hunter. Who jumped in front of me?
It doesn't matter if the Titan which idiot he killed. He still killed them.
Well, I mean, really, it's his fault for jumping in front of me. You're running in front of a moving truck. You're getting hit by the truck. But really, as a result, I killed the hunter, but then got killed by the guy I was trying to shoulder charge because I'm standing there for a second going, wait a minute, why am I over here now? And why is that man murdering me?
No, it's because Bungie
this is a good change.
That they are Titan mains and Titans auto-track hunters. It's in the code.
They don't auto-track hunters. They auto-track whatever's near you.
They auto-track hunters, man, unfairly.
Calm.
Well, the hunter needs to stop jumping in front of the truck.
Right. So Bungie have also adjusted the lunge distance to 5.5 meters for both targeted and untargeted lunges. Targeted lunges were previous 6 meters, while untargeted lunges were previously 4.5. So these changes make for a consistent experience while lunging, which is quite nice. So, for the Hunter's Weighted Knife, they've reduced the tracking significantly and created a new tracking tech that will make the knife more faithful to its initial throw trajectory. That's
so I really like how we got some in-depth Titan shoulder charge numbers and changes. We'll get into the Warlock's handheld supernova here in a second. Everyone's like, we made some changes and there's something new.
I think it's because
no numbers, no data, no information.
They took away our freaking auto targeting. They took away the aim assist.
Yes, but they've created a new tracking tech. So
that will be more faithful to its initial throw trajectory. You know what that means? Okay. You know what that means? No aim assist.
No, they a new tracking tech. New tracking tech. Okay.
You have to actually.
You know what's new? You know what new tracking tech is?
Put a pin in it.
No tracking tech.
Put a pin in it. As for the Warlock's handheld Supernova, we've made a number of changes to bring this ability in line with the other one-shot super abilities. While part of the handheld Supernova's strength lies in its pairing with the controversial Hold exotic gauntlets, which are also being tuned this season, no details as yet, our data indicates even without the controversial Hold, handheld Supernova needs to be adjusted. Yes, please. So here are the changes. They've increased the activation time by 0.6 seconds. So it's a little bit faster to activate the thing. They've reduced the hold time from 3.5 seconds to 2.5. They've reduced the range by 20%. They've tightened the horizontal spread of the bolts by 25%. Bolt explosions now does self-damage.
Oh my god! Thank you. Yes, that
they've reduced the bolt explosion radius from 3 meters to 2.5. So I was watching a video by Fallout, I believe, and he was basically saying it's like what they did with the shotguns, where you can tighten the spread of the bolts, and they've kind of reduced the range. But if you're kind of within a certain radius, you will still get, if there's 2 or 3 people standing there, you'll still get all 3 of those people killed, kind of thing. So it's just kind of honing it down to what it should probably be, rather than kind of just splurging it across the screen like we were joking like with the Lord of Wolves last week.
Yeah. And that's that needed some attention.
Yeah, I mean,
it gets better. Keep reading. It gets better.
In Bungie's playtesting, they found that the product of these changes is an ability that is still accurate and strong, but now has a risk-reward ratio in line with its power. After all, this thing can vaporize multiple PvP opponents instantly.
Sure can.
There's even a bit of silver lining here. The tightening of the bolts leads to more concentrated damage at range, improving the viability against supers, which is quite good.
All right, stop there. That right there, it sounds like a compensation, right? Right there. Silver lining, tightening bolts leads to more concentrated damage at range. Boom. That sounds like it's a compensation, right? Here you go. Yes, we've made these changes, but on the bright side, this happens. That's not good enough. They get
put another pin in it.
Go ahead.
Zippy. To compensate for this change, other elements of the middle Voidwalker path have been buffed. So we had this when Nova Warp first came into the game. It was very, very powerful, and it sounds like it was nerfed considerably into the ground to the point of nobody used it, and then slowly they've kind of attuned it and brought it back slowly. So this sounds like they're going to do a little bit more of an increase to how it was, but not entirely. So they're going to increase the damage resistance and give it a longer duration and reduce blink cost. So that's what they've done so far, and that's what they've told us so far. General subclass tuning. So in the next season, they've made a number of changes to the subclass paths in an effort to tighten the gameplay for balance. For example, Stormcaller top, Striker bottom, and Arcstrider bottom remain dominant in PvP for multiple seasons now. And they said this a while back, that they wanted to kind of make sure that it wasn't just one dominant ability that was for each class. They wanted to kind of make sure that they were all kind of tuned. So this, again, they're taking another pass at all of the abilities. So some will get tuned up, some will get tuned down.
Really, the whole thing you can read, or you can get to they're taking the Stormcaller top, Striker bottom tree, and Arcstrider bottom tree down. They're bringing Voidwalker bottom tree up, Night Stalker bottom tree up, and Striker tree middle up.
Yeah.
See, that's my confusion, right? I've used the bottom tree arc on a hunter, and I get more kills with a bottom tree Night Stalker.
Well, then that's good for you. That's good for you, because if they're bringing it up even more,
it'll be even better.
Just because of the super? Because you can kill more people with the super? To me, that's not as impactful as being invisible all the time and getting more kills.
They didn't say it was the super. They're saying the Night Stalker bottom. So the whole tree. So each different thing on there, they will adjust it, and they'll let us know in the next couple of weeks what they're actually adjusting to make it better.
Yeah, I know it's the whole tree. But what I'm saying is, why did people keep preferring the arc instead of the void? Because the void, you got so much more viability outside of your super than the arc does.
I mean, it's just they've ranked the paths in among the top PvE paths in terms of the kills per minute, and they've also been looking at like the win-loss ratios in Crucible. So they've been looking at a number of different data points where, it's not the super entirely. It may just be how many people are playing this and how much success are they having. Yeah, there's you're having a lot of success with that, so it'll be even better once they make the changes to improve it even more. And the folks that are relying on their their bottom tree striker to be just a bulldozer of endlessness may have a little success with it. So, and the Titan middle tree just needs some help because it's like Nova Warp. You could run it, but why would you bother?
I know. I mean, I was playing competitive this week trying to get my linear fusion rifle, and I was on Rusted Lands, and I was in that little tunnel underneath that goes from one side to the other, where the heavy spawns. Right. And I ran in there, and there was a Titan shield from the opposite team, and he was hiding on the other side. And I ran in there to grab the heavy, and I put a shield up. And as I put my shield up, he did a Titan slam and went straight past me and just behind me, just where the heavy was. And all I did was take a couple of steps forward, and I was out of the radius of that splash damage, turned around and just shotgunned him, and I felt so sorry for the guy because he should have killed me and he should have won the match. But unfortunately, because the super wasn't that good, and we've seen all the videos of people flying past the targets, hitting the target and just falling to the ground on some of the one? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the thunder crash. I'm going to fly through the air and do nothing. Yeah. Half the time when I run that class, I'll do it from the death from above.
Yeah, I thought that gets more damage based on how far you fly.
But the thunder crash is it's such a bad super. Like half the time, I don't even when my super comes up, I just ignore it. I don't even bother unless I'm trying to unless I see like a big group of guardians or something or a big ad space I can clear. It's just not even worth using as a super half the time.
I encourage you guys to use it as often as you can. In fact, let it be the new meta because there's nothing funnier than watching a Titan.
Well, it might be next season, so
valiantly and then off the edge of the map.
I do use it in Gambit. I do like it for my Gambit build. It's a good Gambit build.
Just not for doing any kind of boss DPS.
If he'd have used it just outside the door, I think he might have got the trajectory to hit me. But or if he'd even been further outside the door, he probably would have hit the door above. You have to be that specific. It has to be really tight kind of location to actually hit somebody. It's a bit unfortunate that he kind of missed. Well, for him anyway.
Yeah, not for you, it's not.
No. So
bless him.
Apparently, that's it from them today. That's it from the Bungie development team today, and we're going to find out more details about these changes when the patch notes go live in early March.
Yeah. There's one more little PS on the end of that.
Oh yeah, they give a little PS that the Hunter Trip Mines are sticky again. So stay sharp, Guardians. So if anybody wasn't aware with the Hunter Trip Mines in Destiny 1, I think it was year 1 and 2. The Hunter Trip Mines were fantastic to throw and hit a Guardian, and they literally stuck to the Guardian, and you could get them on their head like a little unicorn, and you'd be able to blow them up. And this sounds like we possibly maybe getting back to that again, because that was quite fun in Trials to throw those out, have a double sticky trip mine load out, and catch people unaware. There was an exotic, I think it was a chest piece or gauntlets that you could. Is it? We've still got those now, just that nobody uses them. So that might be useful.
No, ours it improves the trip mine, but it doesn't give you double.
Okay.
So can you stick the trip mines? Like, can you stick them to the environment now, or do they just?
Well, you always could stick them to the environment, but if you hit a guardian, it bounces off.
Okay.
Yeah, they changed it.
That's what I assumed, but again, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, too many people complained about it sticking to the guardian.
But that's the best thing.
I know.
Sticking grenades to guardians, giving people jaunty hats that glow in Halo, and having them explode is the best thing in Halo. Sticking grenades to people in Destiny 1 was the best thing. That should always be a thing. They should never take that away. Come on, Bungie. People need to be loaded up with explosives hunters. And die.
They always mess with hunters, obviously.
It was good fun to throw a trip mine on somebody that was capturing a point and have them standing next to somebody and do damage to both of them.
Or throw one and have it stick to his back, have him run back to his team for safety, and then they all die.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you stick somebody with a trip mine, as soon as they move, they die, right?
I don't know.
Always. No, it depends on the damage, the resilience.
See how it is here. No, I mean detonate. As soon as they move, it detonates, right?
Yes. You see the damage cone hone in, but it's quite a slow. trigger, isn't it? For
I assume it'll be like the other sticky grenades, where if you stick it to them, they can still take a step or two, or if they're mid slide or mid lunge, it'll still go with them there. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll have to see how many people are getting things stuck to their faces in trials.
I'm glad about this. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm glad about this because whenever I used to use the trip mine subclass, I would hit a guardian with it and it would bounce off. And as it's flipping through the sky, it triggers and kills us both. It's
just the dumbest thing. It's like, no, you should stick to something. Or at least if you make contact with it, it should explode. Looking at you, every grenade launcher that bounces off the guardian when it hits them.
Right? Mountaintop. Anyway.
So, as promised, in addition to these explanations, there will be patch notes when the season begins. These should give you a full illustration of how the game is changing. Until they arrive, we hope you enjoy this preview. And us, at Two Titans and a Hunter, hope you appreciate this Respawn Rants.
All right, well, let's start off with the throwing knives. So finally, after all my complaining and griping, they gave hunters a one-shot ability. Awesome. But it required precision, which tilted me because you don't need precision for the freaking handheld supernova. You don't need precision for a freaking shoulder charge, but you needed the precision for the throwing knife. So Bungie's like, here's a throwing knife where we'll even help you get the precision shot. It wasn't super tracking, but it was decent tracking. And now they're like, for the hunter's weighted knife, we've reduced its tracking significantly. Let's look at that weight there. Significantly. It wasn't that impressive to begin with, right? It did help. Don't get me wrong. It did help. But it wasn't like freaking truth, okay? It wasn't. It didn't have a ton of tracking on it. But here we go. Reduced its tracking significantly. What the hell, Bungie? And created a new tracking tech that will make the knife more faithful to its initial throw trajectory. For everybody that doesn't know what Bungie's trying to say, that means where you throw it is where it goes, aka no more tracking. So the only thing that we had that could one-shot, and even then we had to be semi-skillful with it, has now been stripped away from us. But the Titans, now they're untargeted melee, untargeted shoulder charge, gets additional range? What? No. Bungie has proven time and time again that they are Titan-loving, and I'm sick and tired of them affecting hunters just because they don't like playing against hunters. You did a good thing, and then you took it away. It's Whisper of the Worm all over again. You gave it to us, and then you nerfed it the same way you did in D1. Bungie, I cannot emphasize this enough. You suck. Stop playing favoritism with the damn Titans and give the hunters some love and actually leave it alone for once. Stop giving us something and then taking it away. And then giving it to the freaking Titans, right? Like with a 1-2 punch. Oh, it was too powerful. So we're going to give it to the Titans and make it 12 times more powerful. Your tracking knife is too good. So we're going to take away the tracking and increase the freaking lunge distance on a freaking Titans shoulder charge. Just why? Why do you have to show your bias all the time? The game is supposed to be fun to play, not fun to play for Titans. I was very upset at this. I know I'm loud, and Demon's probably going to have to edit me screaming into the mic a few times, but it is getting a little absurd that every time the hunters get something nice, they have to take it away from us. Every single freaking time. And now they're talking about they're going to buff the bottom tree of the hunters, right? Which is great. The bottom tree Void Stalker, which is great. But how long until they take that away from us? Anytime the hunters get something good, Bungie decides, wait, good for hunters, bad for Titan. And then they take it away and give it to the Titans. And I'm a little sick of it. I'm going to be honest with you here. If you disagree, you're free to disagree. I'm sure every crayon-eating Titan out there is going to disagree. But whatever, let me know what you think. Attack me. I don't care. Every now and again, a Titan presents me with a good counter argument that I perhaps didn't think of, and I take it into consideration before I complain even more, right? Let me hear what you got to say. Maybe you'll think of something that I didn't hear. I don't know. Whatever the case is, this change did not make me happy. And since we're talking about PvP-related stuff, let's talk about Trials a little bit, right? Trials has always been light level dependent. D1 in the beginning of D2, anytime you've had a Trials-ish type experience, it's been light level enabled. Hell, even Iron Banner, that's light level enabled, right?
Yeah.
So the epitome of PvP, the flawless card to take you to the tower on Mars, the best of PvP, is now only going to be, it was going to be fully light level enabled, which I support. I'm not even a great PvP player. I might be better than average, but I'm nowhere near flawless Trials card going to the tower PvP. I freely admit that. And as such, from my perspective, I think light level should be enabled in every aspect for Trials PvP. And everybody else says, what if you don't have the DLC? Then you don't get to have the light level advantage. Sorry. The people that don't have it inside of Iron Banner, guess what? They don't get the light level advantage, and they still play Iron Banner. It's a little rougher for them, yes, but they play. If a guy without the DLC manages to get a flawless card and make it to the tower, more freaking power to him. That guy is outstanding, and I want that guy on my team, okay? But light level should be enabled. That is the pinnacle of PvP. And people complaining about, what about the artifact? What about armor? What about this and that and the other? Get it. That's how Bungie designed their game, you know? And I know this is coming from the guy that just complained about them nerfing Hunters and giving it to Titans, right? I understand the irony. I understand the hypocriticism there. I get it. But that activity is a pinnacle PvP activity, and light level should 100% be enabled. You work for that light. You've earned that light level, whether you bought it with money or whether you earned it. Even if you bought it with money, even if you have the season pass, you don't just get 100 levels. You have to earn them. You have to do bounties. You have to go out and do stuff. You have to get the experience to get that light level cap up, right? They've still earned it. So it should be enabled fully, not just partially, not just armor and not the ghost, armor and not the artifact, right? Give them all the light. Because even if you just enable the armor, right? Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. If you don't have DLC, is their armor still 750 max?
No.
What does their armor go up to? Is it 950? If they don't have if they don't have the season pass?
It goes up to whatever the world drops are.
Yeah,
so
950, 960. You just can't go above that because they don't have an artifact.
I see. So
they have an artifact, but they don't have the way of doing the pinnacle activities. So they can't do
right. Yeah.
They can't do the high level nightfalls. They can't do the high level raids and things like that. It's the high level stuff that drops the pinnacle gear. I mean, they can play Iron Banner and that still drops. So yeah, it's
So why is Bungie disabling the artifact then?
Because
if non-DLC players have the artifact.
I'm confused at your rant here, to be honest. Because
I'm confused.
They've disabled the artifact to stop people going in day one of the new season and just farming lost sectors and getting that light up to ridiculous amounts. Imagine if you could spend like 3 days before Trials hits and just go into a lost sector and grind it over and over and over and over again and get an artificial light and get over 1,000 quicker than somebody could just doing the normal everyday routine and then getting your pinnacle rewards.
Because that same thing could be considered for Iron Banner. What if Iron Banner comes out and you just got your seasonal artifact 3 days before Iron Banner? The guys that grind out lost sectors to get their light level up are going to go into Iron Banner higher.
Because I'll tell you why. Because nobody did that for Iron Banner.
Because there's no reason to Iron Banner. There's no reward at the end of Iron. Yeah, they could, but there's no carrot at the end of that stick. You win 20 Iron Banner games in a row, then you've just stomped a bunch of people. Who cares? Like, you get your quest done faster. There's nothing there at the end of that. Because trials are dependent on win-loss.
If we're just talking about like lost sector stuff, then that doesn't really count because they said that the damage the higher damage numbers occur around 100 light level difference. Are they really going to get an extra 100 light level over somebody in 3 days? Using this example, no.
No, but you think about that week on, week out. Somebody progressing their light above 1,000 each week, doing like 20 levels each week,
sure,
is going to be ridiculously more powerful than somebody that is just playing the game normally.
Absolutely.
And being able to just play against you guys, would be ridiculous. So I understand the reason why.
Why would they be ridiculous?
Because if you're getting stomped in trials, and then you're getting stomped in trial by people massively above you in light level, you're never going to go back into that activity, and then it's going to kill trials quicker than anything else could. So if nobody, then why bring it back if you're just going to set it up for failure? Why even have it in the game?
They're not setting it up for failure. Those people, they're just going to take longer before they can compete with everybody else in trials.
But they're not going to.
My point is this:
they're not going to come back.
Then who cares? Let the guys that play that mode play that mode, right? That's just like competitive PvP. Not everybody plays competitive PvP except the diehards. Well, the diehards are going to play trials, right? Point is they've earned that light level by going to lost sectors, by doing bounties, by doing raids, by doing whatever. They've earned that level. They might have more time to play. Yes, I'll validate that point. They might have more time to play to get that light level higher, which would give them more of an advantage in the trials. But that's the point of the light level. They've earned that light level. Bungie should not take that away from them because why are you grinding?
There's no reason to grind.
What's the point of the grind if the light level grind means absolutely nothing to you? In PvP, it doesn't mean anything. Once you get above a certain light, you're above that light. Getting more powerful doesn't do much. So then the grind for light is going to be because of trials. But then they took the light away in trials, right? So then what's the point of grinding light? Once you hit the max, 950, 970, 1000, whatever it may be at the time, you're done.
It's going to be for the PvE activities, so the raid and the new Nightfalls.
Right, but once you reach above 950, 980, you're done.
I'd say there's no point. Largely in the game, there's no point to grind the light. You get to a point of light and then go do something else or go play things of that light. You don't need to be higher. There's no... The gain you're getting from it isn't significant enough to be worth all the trouble.
And that's my point. That's why it should be enabled in trials, because that's the one thing that people are competitive about. If you don't have the time or you don't have the drive to get, well, you can disagree.
I am.
This isn't a debate. This is a rant. So I'm right. Shut up. Point is, it should be enabled for those people that really, really want to go to the tower. Let them have it. Is it
I can go to the tower anytime I like.
Can you though? Can you though? Really?
It takes a long time.
Eventually, sure, but really, Respawn. What I want to know is who tells Brother Vance that we brought the tower back, but he doesn't get to go there.
Lighthouse.
I will. I don't like him, man. I'll tell him and then I'll shoot him in the face. I don't care. But no, it should be enabled. They've earned their light level through various activities, and they deserve to have that advantage in the highest competitive PvP mode there is. Now, competitive being the freaking key word there, man.
They haven't said that it's going to be the artifact's not going to be activated all the time. It's only not activated at the moment until they can figure out a certain point where you can use the artifact. So have you got anything else to say on Luke Smith's Director's Cut?
No, I think that's about it. Just the knife throw in the trials. That's it.
Okay, so you're happy about weapons phasing in and out and things like that?
Can you be more specific? Because I don't remember anything about weapons.
No, I can't be any more specific because there was a 2-hour chat about this, and if you missed it, you missed it.
Okay, then I missed it.
Oh, you haven't read it, have you?
I watched the highlight videos that some of the famous YouTubers put out there. I didn't listen or read the whole thing. I just got the highlights.
Okay. What's your favourite gun in the game that's not exotic?
Oh, probably the arsenic bite, which isn't technically a gun.
Okay. So imagine next season you won't be able to infuse your arsenic bite up to the highest light level.
No, that's ridiculous. I hate the fact that they're doing that, but I kind of understand why. It's, playing devil's advocate. Yeah, we use the same guns all the time, and I get that. All the other guns are kind of useless unless the meta changes, right? But that is, in fact, the whole point of the meta change is trying different weapons, right? Yeah. But them just flat out, invalidating weapons, I've always hated. Like since D1, whenever you got that raid weapon, you're like, yeah, finally. Guess what? Now it's 2 light level or 200 light level lower than what it needs to be. Damn it! Right? So I that is not a good thing, but I understand why they're doing it. So
I'm glad that we agree on something.
But I get
it. Would you prefer them to, weapons, like you said, weapons will have like a 3 to 5 season, they're just their vague, like maybe like a 3 to 5 season shelf. Are you happier with them phasing weapons in and out, or with the current nerfing and buffing of weapons that they have to do because everything is valuable forever?
Not everything.
Do you think that's better or worse than
of that class
nerfing things?
If it's a phase in and out, like you're calling it, that I would be okay with. Yeah. So let's say you lose the break.
It's going to be a phase in because with each new season comes new weapons. So you lose some things, but you're going to get something else new.
That's a phase out entirely. Then no, I'm not comfortable with a phase out because then you love your weapons like the breakneck or the arsenic bite or the whatever, right? Whatever your favorite weapon is, right? Like the Uriel's gift. Remember how good that gun was, right?
Sure do.
And then it went away.
Origin story.
It went away and it's now back with different roles. So how good is that?
I haven't got a good role yet, so I have no opinion on it.
You're not playing the game enough.
I'm not getting enough world drops.
Spend more time in the world.
But no, I don't like that. I don't like them just taking away your favorite weapons. I didn't like it in D1. I don't like it now. If I had to choose between phasing out entirely or buff nerfs, I would choose buff nerfs because the buff nerfs are.
Like, you wouldn't. You complained so much about buff nerfs. Don't even go there. No, I'm not listening. I'm not listening to you on that.
They nerfed the breakneck. No, I was pissed.
But
then they buffed it,
like
and I was happy.
8 podcasts, and at least 50 of those, there has been a respawn rant about a buff and nerf. No, I don't believe you. Right. Don't go back on it.
I would prefer that over phasing out forever because at least
they didn't say phase out forever. They didn't say phase out forever.
That was the option that was just given to me.
Well, that's all we wanted to offer you at this point in time. We can't offer you any more. Sorry, sir. So, moving on to Twitch Prime rewards. More Twitch Prime rewards go live this week, and if you've already signed up, Amanda Holiday is has your new items waiting for you. So everyone else can sign up now by linking your Bungie account. We went over it a couple of weeks ago, and this week or this month, Amanda has for you the poultry petting exotic emote, the Praxit Finery. The Praxit Finery.
There you go.
Yeah. Has the Praxit Finery exotic sparrow, the Age of Tomorrow shell, which is a legendary ghost shell, and the Sails of Osiris exotic ship. So if these are ones that you're missing and you do have Twitch Prime, you can sign up for this. So the end of the season is fast approaching us. With the Imperium Foundation restored, the last triumph to acquire the Saviour Seal has been unlocked, so players completing the seal should claim and equip to ensure it isn't removed when Season of Dawn ends on the 10th of March. Additionally, players have until 9:59 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on March 13th to claim their Season of Dawn rewards on their Bungie rewards page, with deadlines to purchase this being 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the March 31st. So that's if you want to get the seal pin to go with getting Season of Dawn's triumph for your Saviour Seal, you can actually purchase that from the Bungie rewards. Finally, the player support team is working on the end of season article highlighting quests, items, and triumphs, leaving with the transition to the Season of the Worthy. So they'll probably detail that for you next week. But roughly speaking, there's going to be a couple of triumphs that you want to look at for Gambit, Crucible, and Vanguard. So there's one for doing something ridiculous like 25 Nightfalls. There's complete the weekly bounties for Crucible, I believe, and some of these are 0% or 0 points for triumphs, but they ones that you can kind of achieve. The same with Gambit as well. I believe there's those for doing many of the weekly or daily bounties for that. So yeah.
I have to go visit Zavala and shove some tokens into him because I always forget about the one. Gain. I think it's like gain 10 ranks in Vanguard or something by the end of the season, which I never do because there's nothing I ever need out of it. I need to go visit him and basically visit all my tower vendors and shove tokens into their faces until the triumph pops up before the end of the season.
So the stonk market is closing soon. The community has been questioning if they can continue donating to the Imperium Foundation. And yes, you can. Players will be able to donate their Polarized Fractaline until the season ends on March 10th. So you'll be able to get to the next reset after this podcast comes out. And basically, if you've already hit a certain level, start getting all your bounties done this week and stockpiling them on all your characters if you can, and save them until the next season, because then that will give you a leg up on turning them in for experience points on your new season pass to unlock those quicker. So that helps. I haven't got any videos or tips, trips or guides this week because everything's kind of coming to the end of the season. A lot of the YouTubers are just doing videos on the stuff that Luke Smith's put out, the videos and the TWAB, and it's kind of everybody's kind of just mainly focusing on doing stuff towards the end of the season and completing badges and triumphs and things like that. So there's not a lot of build videos. So hopefully when we get the new subclasses and there's new weapons come in, there's going to be a lot more stuff to actually look at. Maybe there might be a few things next week, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, stockpile your bounties. Now's a good time if you are playing all three characters, or if you have a neglected character, go on them. Do as many bounties as you can. Just hoard those bounties so they're ready for the next season turnover. If nothing else, it gives you a leg up on a little bit of experience, maybe some new weapon drops, and then you can cycle through your other characters. And 19 minute respawn both. I have a treat for you because Bungie has actually sneakily hid the big list of things going away at the end of the season.
Ooh.
That they hid into the help section.
What?
So the Season of Dawns ends at the weekly reset March 10th, which is sooner than you think. So here's the list of things you need to do before the season ends because they're going away. So your Season of Dawn season pass and bonuses from the season, gone. Season of Dawn Seal and Savior title. Your incomplete items in the Season of Dawn collections badge will turn invisible. Your emblems and shaders and quest items from the Season of Dawn, the lore for constellations, the Lantern of Osiris seasonal artifact, the player power increase from the Lantern of Osiris, Polarized Fractaline, Obelisk bounties, Time Lost weapon bounties, Time Lost friends consumable, Fractaline skimmer consumable, Light fused Fractaline, Sundial Arena, the Sundial Spire, the Destination Obelisks, the Tower Obelisk, the Quest from Osiris, the Quest from State 14, although the Bastion Quest will still be available, State 14's bounties, the Devil's Ruin Exotic Quest, they will bring the Devil's Ruin back in a future season, and the Season of Dawn artifact mods.
My renowned!
Exactly. So a reminder, all of that goes away at the end of the season. And there's a whole bucket of triumphs that are also going to go away, which are for tune in, kids, sit back, because it'll take a second. Your Tingled Shore, your Mars, your Nessus, your EDZ, and all your global residents. Residence all goes away. Your Race Through Time, your Link Repair, your Undefeatable, your Legendary Scion, your Flayer Slayer, your Inatim's Ruin, your Sundial, your Bastion, your Saintly Savior, A Past Remembered, Bound by Duty, Saintly Duty, Devil's Ruin, Tower Obelisk, Central Power, Power Overwhelming, Empyrean Restorer, Torchbearer, and your Season 9 Power Bonus, Progress, Combat, Challenges, Valor, Valor Legend, Glory, Glory Streak, Iron Banner, Engagement, Rituals, Vanguard.
All right. All the things.
And all other Season 9 triumphs. All go away at the end of the season. And we will put that link in the show notes if you're tired of listening to my big dumb voice read all these things.
Nice.
So yeah, so get those things done before the end of the season because they go away forever. And like Nitedemon said, both unlock and equip. Bungie made a point to say and equip the Savior title. So maybe there's a bug with it next season. So if you have it, just equip it to a character. You don't have to leave it equipped. Just equip it once. Make sure it's there. Make sure it works. So you don't want to do all that work to get your title unlocked and then not actually have it because things break.
So, now that that's done, I got the last two people crying because they got banned. If y'all want me to read those,
yeah, in a second.
Okay. As soon as I give you some good updates that we're getting with the Season of War, when it becomes available on March 10th in the 2.8.0 update. So your Prime Attunement buff that I know we've all been missing will once again show up on new characters after a previous character deletion. The Pigeon and the Phoenix lore will become available again for those who earn the lore. For those who ignored it, you still won't care. The empty Solstice of Heroes gift message from Tess will no longer show up. And tower travel loading times will be returned to normal.
Lies!
What do they class as normal? I don't know what they class as normal.
Normal.
Normal the way it used to be? Or normal the way that they're going to say it used to be and it's actually still long as hell?
Normal. And that's all we have for this, other than, everyone crying about getting banned in the game. Maybe. So Respawn, one of our good people, definitely haven't been cheating or doing anything untoward another Guardian. Wouldn't be aimbotting or using apps or anything to make bad things happen.
Absolutely not. No, it's entirely Bungie's fault. So this guy right here, he was just straight and to the point. I would like to know why I was permabanned. And then he follows it up by Bungie. Are you okay? And Bungie, I guess, got tilted and said, your account was banned for running a Destiny-specific cheat tool designed to provide an unnatural advantage over other players. Your ban has been reviewed and upheld. And this is why I say Bungie got tilted, because on all these other ones, Bungie just says, this is what you did, right? Or you're banned, we reviewed it, you're still banned. For this guy, Bungie actually gave him a link that said, more information about what you did can be found here.
Like
so
he
they're
doesn't
so
know.
Confident. He's so confident that Bungie's going to be like, oh, we're sorry. Bungie's like, no, you're banned. You're still banned. And this is why. Here's a link to it, buddy. Bungie just got tilted at this guy.
So wait. Can we not follow that link to see what exactly he did?
I cannot.
Is it just for that guy or is it for the whole world to see?
It's for this guy. And I guess it's been taken down since then, because when I take it there, it says, "Oops, this forum post cannot be found."
Oh,
so
that's too bad.
Yeah, it does suck, but I love how Bungie gave him his own specific link to show him why he's banned. We got some shout outs here. I can do the shout outs too, since a lot.
We've had a bit of community feedback and listener feedback, so yeah, take it away, Respawn.
All right, from a Jacob Minshall. Or if it's Men's Hall, not sure, spelled the same way. What's your guess on the new with snipers getting a nerf? So Nitedemon has pointed out, he meant to say, what's your guess on the new meta with snipers getting a nerf? But that one missing word makes a lot of difference. My guess is...
Why are you calling me out on that? Why didn't you just read it with the
Because that's what I do. No. That is what I do.
So
I already did
just
it.
Read it again.
My guess is 1K voices. Then Demon, being the guy that he is, responded, "You're probably not wrong. Not that Respawn is going to be a part of it, or even be aware, to be honest." Laughing face. Because you're a bad person. Thank you for your email. I will make sure to pass this on to the other two. Regards, Nitedemon. So, regarding that, Demon, I don't like you anymore. Don't talk to me.
That's all right. You'll
Hi, guys.
Next week.
Shut up. Just because it's true doesn't mean you have to voice it. Hi, guys. You keep asking to promote a clan. Well, mine is recruiting me. Know what details you need.
Let me know. Why'd you do this?
Because I'm a bad person.
You are not. Just say it. Say it with the let me.
Know what details you need, and I will send them over. Thanks, not ARF. So, the guy's name is not ARF. Now that makes way more sense. Okay. So, he said he wants to promote his clan, but I don't see the clan promo in there.
Well, he wants to know what we're looking for. So basically, not ARF. what platform or platforms do you play on? What kind of activities do you do? And if you're sort of like in a particular time zone or area, just let us know. So people that play on your platform and maybe live in your time zone can come join you.
What kind of person you're looking for as well, really?
Yeah.
You may be looking for
what platform you play on,
people that aren't
respawn,
respawn,
and what times are you on. There you go.
Yeah. How many respawns do you want?
Yeah. You can have all the respawns or none of them.
Speaking of which, for everybody that's out there,
oh god,
I now have Destiny 2 on my PlayStation 4. So I have Destiny on every platform now. Oh. Just saying. I'm currently listening.
Don't.
I do though.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You have overlooked what may be the easiest platform to go flawless on.
Switch?
Nope. It's not available for Switch.
Stadia, I know. But I don't count that one. I am currently listening to episode 57, and I want to stop Respawn and say, ooh, okay. Yes, make bows require special ammo. Ta-da!
No, but he's saying stop you saying that.
No, he's saying, okay. Yes, make bows require special ammo, but not all of them, and don't touch the primary bows. Leave them be. I kick ass in the PvP with bows as they are. I'm worried that if bows got a buff, the community would turn around on them and complain, making Bungie nerf them so they're weaker than they are now. I shall now continue with the episode. Lol. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Smiley face. So, if they were made special weapons, they would get a power buff, I think. They would have to.
At the end of the day, Musical Plant, that's who sent that message in. Nobody listens to Respawn, so I think you're safe with the bows.
I hate you so much. Also, I don't see his name. These screenshots you're sending us don't have everybody's name on them all the time.
Well, no, because it was part of the next bit that you're going to read out because he wants to promote his clan.
Oh, this didn't even show up. Okay, I see it now. That took a while to show up. Yeah, okay, so his name is a Musical Plan. Greetings, friendly guardians, smiley face. My GF and I have decided to make our own clan and would like to let people know it's out there. It's called Ancient Magus Guardians, of a casual kind, and open-minded guardians. The name itself is a reference to a somewhat underground anime, so although ideally we'd like a group of anime lovers, the minimal requirement is that you're a kind, considerate guardian. Well, I'm one of those two things.
No.
Can you guess which one I am?
No. No. You're open. I am an anime, that's about it.
I'm an anime lover. The other thing I might not qualify for. And I know what anime they're referring to, by the way. It's kind of a weird one with. No, we won't get into it. Please announce it to the next. It's Ancient Magus.
Oh,
that's the name of the anime. Yeah,
I had no idea, so I had to ask.
No, it's an ancient mage that has a goat for a head, and he's not really human, and he falls in love with a human, and it's a whole thing. Don't worry about it. So please announce it on the next chance you get on an episode. Smiley face. There's definitely no bullying or hate allowed in this clan. Huh.
Sorry, Respawn.
Right? Oh, yeah. It's on PSN. That's probably important. My name on PSN is Knight Kane Hurst. All one word. Knight with a K. Kane, C-A-I-N, Hurst. Knight Kane Hurst. Anyone with questions can message me there. Smiley face.
And we'll put a link in the show notes with his name so that you can find him.
Yeah. We're up to 78 lovely YouTube subscribers, and Ibuprofen 1 kg, Tracy Offen, and Small Bean, and
he's forgotten.
No, I'm trying to catch up. I'm scrolling.
Crispy Bacon 111. Scroll faster, buddy. Crispy Bacon 111 are a couple of our recent subscribers in the feed.
Oh, his name is Chris with a P Bacon. Dude, your name is amazing.
Little things.
You're a great person, and I love you.
And then, yeah, we had a couple of recent comments, which I've seen and liked and replied to, so they know I love them. But Jackson Meyer says, imagine getting Recluse 3 seasons later. Huh? Cries internally. Yeah, that was me, buddy, with Galahorn in D1. So I know the feels.
I do like how he's got a hunter picture there. That's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he's a hunter man or if he just likes that picture.
He's trying to suck up to you.
I hope
So he's definitely on that train of getting things a couple seasons later. Because Jackson Myers, again, I don't think you've tried this yet, but use Wish Ender in Gambit Prime. It 2-shots the envoys. It does a ton of damage. I finally got it 5 seasons later.
Now, I did see this when you posted
That's like
that
many
up
of our
there,
clan
and I'm
members.
curious: is this pre or post nerf? But not nerf. Glitch. The Wish Ender glitch. Is this the Wish Ender glitch you're referring to, or I'm gonna have to try that out because I haven't tried Wish Ender by itself inside Gambit Prime. So I'm gonna see if it does 2-shot the envoys, or if that was because of the glitch that was happening for a while.
Yeah,
You try it out. You tell us next week.
Yeah, it was a comment on episode 50, so about 5 weeks ago. So whenever that fell in the glitch world. So yeah, it should have been post glitch because it wasn't that broken from December Christmas time frame.
Yeah.
And then one that we talked about earlier because it was apparently very confusing to my poor dear co-hosts. 2 Titans and a Hunter's way to get people to stay and listen. Get a 7th column for the intro gameplay. You're welcome, Jackson. You're welcome.
So I think that's it for the week. I'd just like to say thank you to all our YouTube subscribers, everybody that's commented, everybody that's kind of got in touch with us. Thank you. Just keep it coming in. Thank you for staying on so long.
And putting up with us every week. I'm not sure how we put up with us, but I'm glad you guys do too. So thank you.
And not much is getting cut from this episode, so it's probably going to be about a 3.5 hour listen. I apologize now at the end.
You're welcome, Andy.
Yeah, Andy, this one's for you. Andy, who is given up his hunter brethren and gone warlock main. So now we know at least one warlock, guys. Maybe 2 or 3 even.
And I don't mind giving up hunters to warlocks because, like I've said many times, if I swap off of my hunter to do something, it's
normally on a Titan.
You
always say it's a Titan. You always say it's a Titan.
I say never a Titan.
Yeah, on many recordings it's a Titan.
Nope. I said I have played on my Titan, but if I'm going to jump characters, it's going to be the Titan, buddy.
Yeah, Titan.
No, you're a liar.
Tune in next week for every instance where Nitedemon finds Respawn saying Titan and putting them just like every time he says Hunter, just replacing it with Titan.
Yeah, he's going to edit some nonsense like that too, but no.
That's too much work. He won't do that.
If I'm going to play something else, it's going to be a Titan, and I have said that multiple times. It's going to be a Titan, and I have said that multiple times. I have played on my Titan, and I have said that multiple times. Titan. I'm going to play something else, it's going to be a Titan. I have said that multiple times. But if I'm going to jump characters, it's going to be the Titan, and I have said that multiple times. Titan. And I don't mind giving up hunters Titans, because like I've said many times, if I swap off of my hunter to do something, it's going to be a Titan.
I think that's it, Peroty. Will you give the peoples the deets and take us away?
I will.
The deets?
So thank you once again for joining us. Your Titans are Peroty and Nitedemon, your hunter, and sometimes warlock, as no one responds in real life, who can now be found on PS4. You can email the show at 2titansandahunter@hotmail.com. You can find the show on Twitter at 2titans_hunter. You can find the show on Instagram at 2titansandahunter, and on Facebook, and on YouTube, and really anywhere you can type it into Google will show up there. You can join the Frozen clan at join.frozen.party. That's Frozen with a 0. You can find your favorite Guardians on Xbox Live and Respawn on PS4 and PC. You can watch your show on YouTube. You can listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and everywhere fine casts. God dang it!
You were right there, man.
So close, right there. I could see the end. I could see the Raid Exotic in my hand, and then I dropped it, and it rolled into the hole, and then never to be seen again. So yes, listen to our show, leave us a review, give us some feedback on just how badly we read words and how we can't say things and forget simple things in the game. So
no, that's all edited out. Don't worry about that.
Oh no, the
leave
people
it in.
They know in their hearts and minds that none of us can read.
Leave it
fine.
in. We haven't said a lot of curse words. Just leave it in.
Oh, yeah.
So I wish you guys a very happy Leap Day. This is a bonus day we're getting in the year.
That's why we're recording longer.
Go forth and enjoy your bonus day. Bonus
Thank you,
day, bonus podcast.
And deuces, everybody. Please tell me you're not leaving that in.
If nothing else, get the poultry petting emote. It's one where you hold the chicken and you pet it lovingly, because you can mix that with many other emotes. You can smash your chicken into a lovely pulp. You can wave it above your head excitedly. There's lots of things you can do with that chicken to chain emotes. So it's worth getting for that alone, if nothing else.
I mean, I would just say that it's worth getting because it's the freaking general. Come on now. Do you really need any other reasons besides that? I mean, why are you trying to sell the general, dude? The general is the general. The fact that you can get him as an emote should be God tier. Come on, man.
Yeah, but if I say get the general, people will go, general who?
No, they won't, because if you say the general, any true hunter knows who the hell that is.
Yeah,
Get out of here.
That's why when you said the general, I was like, oh, the chicken has a... Who knew?
You didn't know the chicken had a name?
Nope, sure didn't.
What? Oh, you're a Titan main anyway. Who cares?
If Bungie put it into the game, into the story, maybe I'd know. But
they did.
Respawn.
When Cade is petting his chicken, he calls it the general.
Respawn.
But then they killed Cade, and now the general's a lovely ramen dish ingredient. So
Peroty.
You suck.
Peroty.
Present.
Peroty and Respawn. Can I just point out one thing?
No.
Okay. His name's the Colonel.
The Colonel. That's what I meant. Any true hunter knows who the hell that is.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Any true hunter knows who the hell that is.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
So Respawn will be back
hunter.
as a Warlock main next season, because apparently he's given up all of his hunter cred, as have the rest of us. So
Amazing.
Look for our 3 Warlock Trials carries runs that we're going to do, because none of us know how anything works anymore. So Warlocks ahoy, everyone. Tune in next week for 3 Warlocks and nothing else.
Also, this is probably going to make me sound even worse. But I knew the chicken's name was the Colonel, but my fat ass was looking on an app to get food, and I was looking at Panda Express.
No.
And I saw General
you are not even using that one. That is the worst excuse ever.